Well, if it is our wonderful podcast listener, the ones that all of us on hams love the most. Dana here to give you a little gentle reminder to hit up our friends at Standard Heating and Air Conditioning and tune up that AC before it fully turns into crotch soup season. June through August are Standard's busy season for getting AC units up to snuff, so get ahead of the curve and have them ensure you don't have a summer where you pit out every shirt you own. Book in May during their pre-summer heat savings event, and you'll beat the rush and save yourself some walking around money. Call Standard Heating today or visit standardheating.com. Enjoy the show. We sincerely appreciate you checking us out each and every day.
93X Half-Assed Morning Show.
Isn't that a religious show? With all the Jesus and Sheezus talk?
Oh, hell no.
Just kidding. They suck.
93X.
I've only been to German Animal Hospital once.
Is that when my dog tried to kill your kid?
Yeah. That's it.
That time.
At the time, Dr. Andrea was probably 7 or younger. That was forever ago.
A long time ago.
You were married still to your first wife at that point, if I remember right.
No, I was not.
Weren't you in Hawaii with her? You were in Hawaii.
I was married to my first wife. I was in Maui, but not with my wife. I was there with another woman.
Oh, maybe that's what ended your relationship. I remember you were married.
It was kind of on its way out at the time, yeah.
And so I drove out there at like 1 in the morning, and the gentleman that owned it at the time met me there, which was very cool.
I know the guy. Nice guy.
Yeah, very nice guy. He looked exhausted. Didn't look excited to be there, but but he showed up. Because
He didn't look excited.
No. He didn't look too happy. We didn't have the greatest meeting. I could tell he wanted to get this wrapped up real quick. But, yeah, my kid, she gets her face ripped off by your dog at the time, which was, we had pet sit your dog many, many times. The kids loved the dog. We'd never had any issue. And for whatever reason, she moved the wrong way, and he bit her face off.
And he's not kidding. I mean, this dog.
It was bad.
This dog attempted to eat all of the flesh off of her face.
And I was, at the time when it happened, I was actually at Arthur's buying my wife's engagement ring. And so I see she calls, and so I send it to voicemail, thinking, well, I can't answer. I have a guilty conscience. She's going to say, you're not buying an engagement ring, are you? And then I give it up.
Right. And
then she called again, and I sent it to voicemail. I'm like, wow, she's really persistent. And then eventually on the third time she calls, she explains what happened. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, so we go. She had to go to the emergency room and get stitches and then go through a series of rabies shots. And I had trouble getting a hold of you because of the time difference.
And my telephone didn't work all that well in the middle of stinking Maui.
Yeah, so it was tough. And I was almost in a panic because the emergency room called the cops. And they said, we have to report this. So the cops show up at our house later, and we still had the dog.
Right.
And they're like, hey, who's the owner? And I said, well, it's my buddy. He's out of town. I'm trying to get a hold of him. And they're like, hey, if you can't get a hold of him, we got to take him. And if we have to test this dog for rabies. So I'm like, he doesn't have rabies. I'm trying to explain to him. And they're like, we can't take this chance. Mm-hmm. So they're going to cut the dog's head off or whatever they're going to do. And
they have to cut the dog's head off.
Finally, I get a hold of you. And you
they have to cut one of your fingers off.
Yeah.
It's a big process.
It was a whole nightmare.
You got a hold of me.
And then you were lucky enough to get a hold of your vet, and that's how we met. It was like I said, it was like 1 in the morning. And I appreciate the cops giving us some extra time because they wanted to take the dog right away.
It was a horror show.
Yeah, it was a pretty scary moment.
It was an absolute nightmare.
A lot of shots you got to get if they're worried about what's it called? It's rabies, by the way.
Yeah, that sucks that she had to go through all of those, and the dog, had his rabies shots. Because is that even necessary if the dog's got its vaccines? I wouldn't imagine so.
Well, because they asked me. We can ask our vet.
Write that down, Ashley. We'll ask the veterinarian.
But that's what they asked. Do you have any proof? I'm like, well, no. I mean, I'm just taking the dog's word for it. He said he's cool.
That was terrible. It was just terrible. I felt so awful. Here I am, hundreds of thousands, millions of miles away, I think.
Well, you're a totally different country in Hawaii.
In Maui, right. I mean, I'll never forget that phone call. You're calling me from the vet's office, right?
No, I went at the vet. At the time, I called you from home because the cops showed up.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize the cops had been called. They said, hey, the hospital called us.
And the damn dog is barking his balls off at the cops, and you're trying to tell the dog to shut up, and you're trying to explain to me what happened. Hospital, blood everywhere. You know, the phone is breaking up. I'm thinking, oh, my damn. And I just felt terrible because, you know, that dog had a taste for children from the day he was born. And so I was always worried when I left that dog with you guys because even though I know you were very careful, I always knew there was a chance that he might get squirrely. And I just wish I would have had a better option, meaning of someone to watch over that dog without children. But you guys were, you know, you really enjoyed having the dog at the house because
we loved having
99 times out of 100 he behaved, but I always worried about that one time, and then it friggin' happened. And I'm so far away, I can do nothing to help you and your wife.
You barely spoke the language. You're trying to explain to people around you in Maui what was going on.
Exactly. And, you know, I was worried about one particular thing, and that was your wife's reaction. Well, so you weren't married yet. You were in the process.
No, we were close.
Like you said, you were buying her a ring. I didn't know her very well yet. I wasn't nervous about how you would deal with it or whether or how or if I should say. I wasn't worried about how you were going to deal with this or if it would affect our relationship because we were pretty tight by that point, even all those years ago. But I did not know your wife, future wife, and I did not know how she would react to it. And I'll never forget, you were telling me what happened. I'm on the other end of the line all the way over in Maui, and your future wife kind of grabbed the phone and said, first things first, I want you to know that I am not upset about this. I mean, it sucks that our kid got her face torn right off the bone, but she said something along the lines of, you know, these things happen. Dogs bite kids. She said, when I was a kid, I got bit by a dog. And she said she put the blame on herself, which was ridiculous. But she said, you know what? I dropped my guard. You told us to be careful, and I dropped my guard for a minute, so it's kind of my fault. I'll never I'll always be very appreciative of how understanding she was. She
Good
was
for her.
Unbelievably understanding.
She's very laid back. Yeah.
Very laid back on the topic.
I don't know if I'd be so chill about it. Good for her.
Well, she has.
And I love dogs, and I understand.
Yeah, I'm
but
kinda
maybe
surprised.
it helps that she's been bitten, because I don't know. I've never been bitten by a dog, so I think if I saw one come at my child, that dog would be on my radar.
Well, here's the thing, Ashley. You know my kid. It was an improvement. When half her face was gone, she was half better looking than she used to be.
And part of the reason why I was, you know, really upset and concerned was I was bitten in the face by a dog as a kid. You can probably tell by looking at me, right? I was bitten hard in the face by a dog when I was a kid, and that was a very, very scary experience.
I can't fathom that. Oh.
How old was your stepdaughter?
So this would have been
2002, something like that?
Something like so. Well, she was maybe 3 or 4.
Oh, she was just a baby.
I was probably 5 when I had my friggin' lower lip pretty much torn off by a Springer Spaniel. And it scared the balls off of me. And I didn't trust any dogs for a good, I'd say week. You probably expected me to say a year or something.
Yeah.
But I was such a sucker for dogs. I was only mad at dogs for about, I was a 5-year-old. How long can you stay mad at dogs?
Yeah, that can't last.
But it truthfully did scare the hell out of me. I'll never forget being just so shocked because that dog just went, whoop, and just took it tried to tear the jaw right off of me like it was a chimpanzee or something. And I'll never forget just the shock and my mother scooping me up to take me to get my lip reattached.
Well, you know, what it did is it prompted us to get a dog pretty much right away just so she wouldn't be scared of him, because that was our concern too, right? She'd grow up terrified of dogs.
That's really smart.
That's one hell of a story about your first trip to Gurman Animal Hospital.
Yeah, that's my one and only trip.
1 o'clock in the morning with a angry little, well, he wasn't angry at you because you weren't a child. My dog loved adults, hated children. You're at Gurman Animal Hospital with my little vicious dachshund and the police and the owner of the joint at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Well, in the emergency room, doctor said it's always the little dogs. That when we treat kids with faces bitten off, it's usually the little dogs that do it.
Here's a listener texted in and said, plenty of people get bit by dogs. I got bit by a horse.
Oh, my God.
Jesus.
Nah, they have crazy strong teeth.
Oh, man, that could have took your head right off.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more?
Stories.
Can you text us back?
Oh, no. I'm sorry to hear that.
Can you give us some more details on that dude who got bit by a horse?
Aren't horses, aren't they capable of just, biting your finger off like they're just biting a carrot? I always thought it was super easy for them to just go chomp.
Well, in South Park, they taught them how to bite off wieners.
Sketchy.
A horse will rip your lips off and kiss its ass with them. That's what a horse will do. So if you can get back to us, we'd love to hear more stories or more details on the story about being bit by a horse.
I don't like horses.
Ronan Engineer Jesus got bit by a dog in Canada, of all places. Stupid Canada, he says.
Postal Jesus said he got bit in the face about a year ago on the job while he was working at the post office.
Oh, no.
Still scary as an adult. Why, there must be something to that, right? There's the old joke of dogs and mailmen, the rivalry they have.
Right.
It sure seems like some people that work in the post office have told stories before.
Oh, my dogs absolutely hate the mailman, and that's just because it's a different vehicle on the street, and they are too close to the house.
Now, our dog loves our mail. Everybody loves Craig, and he'll leave milk bones sometimes in the mailbox.
Oh, see,
that's the key.
He's bribing them.
We got a little game of one-upsmanship happening here on the Half-Assed Morning Show. Less Jesus than Jesus. My God, these get difficult, but we appreciate the creativity. He said, bit by a horse, huh? I got bit by a tiger.
Dude.
What?
That's what he tells me. I don't know if he's playing games.
How are you in that position?
That wasn't a what he's lying. That was a what, that's crazy.
Yeah, freckles shouldn't smudge, Jesus says his dad is a veterinarian and once got kicked in the face by a horse.
Oh, no.
Do you wake up speaking a different language or able to play a piano or something?
Oh, my.
Oh, no. CFH bass player Jesus got bit by a horse. Fly, he said. He got bit by a horse fly. I've heard that's very stingy.
Yeah, those hurt really bad.
A couple of folks in our listening audience have been bitten by snakes.
A cow.
Bitten by a cow.
Oh, yeah. Big
rude.
Rig Fenders Jesus had a buddy bitten by a cow, and he had to get a bunch of stitches on his hand.
I suppose they seem so calm, but I bet with that big mouth and those big jaws, they can get you.
Yeah, it seems so unlike. That's so rude. Maybe they're getting revenge for us eating them.
Box tossing Jesus got bit by a bird.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, bit by a bird. I love it. Some dude in our listening audience got his nose bit off by a Saigon whore.
I saw the movie on that.
There was a documentary. I love. This is great. This is fun. Everyone's sharing their stories of being when animals attack, bit by a northern pike. Yeah, they're angry bastards.
Oh.
But I'm still waiting on this guy. I know he was a 218er, so they're a little slower up there. I want to find out more about being bit by a horse or a tiger. If you were serious about that friggin' tiger bite, I'd like to hear more about that. Well, I'll keep looking at the text.
Reading all these text messages, Josh, I think you need to get your mom a mouth guard.
Oh,
no. Ashley.
There are a few.
It's a daily occurrence,
A few people are saying your mother is a biter.
And so many people text it. Now I'm kind of wondering if it's true because there's so many people who have had relations, they claim. You mentioned my wife and her love of dogs, and she, just yesterday, she threatened the sanctity of our marriage because one of our dogs destroyed a brand new door that we bought. He locked himself in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And, poor guy, he got freaked out and just absolutely, he ate the doorknob, he destroyed the door. And so I simply made a joke about, what would it be like if we just got rid of the dogs? And she said, and I said, what, maybe we're just a house that has 0 dogs. Oh. And she said, I'd rather be a house that had 0 husbands. She threatened me yesterday.
Yes, love that.
With the divorce.
She's a dog nut.
Jackrabbit Jesus got bit by his grandkids.
All right. The gentleman up in the 218 skis who suffered a horse bite years ago, he's texted back with an explanation as to what happened. His first text was, plenty of people get bit by dogs. I got bit by a horse. He says, I grew up on a farm, went out to feed the horses. I got a little too close, and one of them bit me in the face. Oh. You could see the teeth marks every winter on my face for a few years. Something about the temperature drop or something.
Oof.
You could see the teeth mark. Dude, I bet that was frightening. When animals bite you, it's frightening.
This person was once bitten, twice shy.
Dude,
my, that must have been terrible.
Rocking down the world with me, little girl. I'm a humming and a strumming. 1989, Great White.
Oh, a few people have been once bitten, twice shy.
Is that right?
You're good. You're good.
A lot of yous have been taken. Birds, snakes, horses, cows, dogs, cats.
Somebody said they got bit by a shark. Tell us about that one.
Dude, I would never, Josh, I would never even get into a bathtub again if I were bitten by a shark.
That's terrifying.
That's my greatest fear.
Yeah.
I mean, aside
from you can't see them, I mean, that.
I was talking to our big boss, and I learned that he once went swimming with sharks and started to get a nosebleed when he was in there with them.
Are you kidding me?
And I guess, I mean, this makes sense, but I learned that when you get a chance to do that kind of stuff, they overfeed the heck out of the sharks so that they don't want to eat you.
Oh, he's in a tank or
yeah,
something?
And I was
so picturing he was in the ocean.
No, so I was like, so you're just trusting that they ate enough food? I don't know about that.
All right, his new nickname, this is the big boss.
Yeah.
His new nickname, Chum. From now on, we're calling him Chum.
That's not bad.
Ginger Healthcare Accountant Jesus texted in a picture where he got bit. He was also dog sitting. He got bit, got 12 stitches. That looks very painful.
How many did that kid of yours get from my little dachshund?
I don't remember. It was so long ago.
The Ozman.
She still got the... she never...
You can see a tiny little bit of it.
Yeah, I forget.
I look at her a lot.
But yeah, she's got... You can still see that... We had told her, hey, you know what, Wolf... And you were like, I'll pay for anything. I'll pay for whatever. And we're like, it's not necessary. And we had said, hey, if you ever want to look into plastic surgery or something, we will. And she never was interested. It was nothing that... Oh, here, my wife just texted me, 10 stitches.
If you ask me, the only reason why I can still notice the very small marks on your stepdaughter's face is because I know the story. I think if folks weren't aware of the fact that she had been bitten, I don't think folks would say, hey, what happened to you?
No, it's not
I've never
super
noticed.
obvious.
It's not obvious at all.
Every once
She
in a
had to
while.
point it out to me, and I was like, oh, yeah, I've heard that story. That's nuts.
So our big boss, Chum is the new nickname, got into some kind of a tank at some special aquarium or something and swam with sharks. He's touching them. Did he tell you? But you said they told him, don't worry about it. We overfeed them. They won't. No, I would not. And your question was, would you trust that? No, I would not trust that. Other than airplane rides, my greatest fear is garbage creatures that live in the ocean. I hate everything in the ocean.
Yep. The ocean is a very scary place.
The ocean sucks. Scoop everything up and throw it into a trash can.
The ocean was a mistake.
There's parts of it we haven't even been able to explore.
Right.
That doesn't sit right with me.
Scoop it up and put it in a trash can. Where was I going with this? Oh, when I was in, all the way back to the beginning of our conversation, when I was in Maui, we went snorkeling. I hated it. I didn't last very long, maybe 10 minutes, and I got the hell out of there because I saw something down there that I did not like. But I remember when we're talking to the dude who's running the snorkeling stand or whatever, when we talked to him about my first question was, are there sharks in this bay? And he said, well, yes. And I said, well, I want nothing to do with it. And he said, no, dude, don't worry about it. He said, do you see that buoy out there? And do you see that kind of fence line in the water? And yeah, there was like this long fence line in the water. It was shallow. And he said that the sharks typically don't don't come over this way. They don't normally cross past that fence line and that buoy. And I said, what's stopping them?
Yeah, I don't like that.
But that was his attempt to reassure me. And I decided to go for it. Like I said, I was so spooked by those comments that I knew I wouldn't last long, and I lasted maybe 10 minutes. You know, yeah, they don't normally go beyond that buoy. They don't give two pumps about that friggin' buoy. He just wanted his $18 for his snorkel kit that I rented for 10 minutes.
I don't like that at all. When I went snorkeling, for some reason, that completely slipped my mind. The possibility of there being sharks.
It never dawned on you?
Just because, I don't know, maybe I was just so happy.
You're excited.
And I was in such a good mood. But we did have, I remember the boat guide called us in. And he was very calm about it. Once we got into the boat, he informed us that he called us in because there was a giant octopus under where we were snorkeling at. And I guess they can get really aggressive and territorial.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm really glad you didn't tell me that when I was in the water, because I would have panicked and probably drowned.
Oh, God, I wouldn't have thought about an octopus.
Right?
Squirrels, donkeys, other things people have been bit by.
Fighting
donkeys.
cocks.
Oh, geez, that could kill you.
Fighting cocks. Lunch Lady Jesus was bitten by one of those.
Half-assed morning show.
Due to some sexual content, parental discretion is advised.
On 93X.
Cubby, you know me, and you know that I do have an appreciation for a good scam. There are limits, but I have an appreciation for a good scam. And we're going to begin today's Stupid News Report with a keeper. It sounds familiar to me. I think we've covered this nonsense the last time it was being slung around the internet. This scam is extra special because not only does it make the scammer a hell of a lot of monies, which is the key to any good scam, this one is extra special because it's also wildly perverted. Really sick, twisted, perverted stuff. It's something called an orgasm retreat where women will be taught how to orgasm. All right?
You've changed, man.
Talk to me.
I remember a time when you didn't believe a female orgasm was real.
Yeah.
You've been convinced now at this point?
Yeah, but still, there's no way you're going to convince me that the don't tell me the word, I can't think of the word is, the environment. What's the word?
There is no such thing as an environment.
Environment. Yeah. I don't believe in the environment.
There is not an environment.
Everyone's always telling me that the environment is in trouble. I don't believe it's a real thing.
There is not an environment.
All right, an orgasm retreat. Of course, this idea comes from California. Ladies in our listening audience, all the organizers of this orgasm retreat want in trade is $15,000 of your hard-earned money. So, gals.
Oh, my gosh.
Gals, you could hand these hippies $15,000 so you can sit in a circle and play with yourself in front of a gang of 70-year-old women, or you can touch yourself at home for free while you watch old Patrick Swayze movies. Which way are you going to go?
I wonder if I really had difficulty there, and I kind of go the opposite way, to be honest with you.
You orgasm too easily?
A little too easily. I wonder if I'd get desperate enough where I would pay, $15,000. Okay, that's outrageous. But if I'd spend some serious, embarrassing money on it, if I just couldn't, and I really thought I could learn how.
I think, Josh, knowing you, I think if you just absolutely could not orgasm and you were at a point in your life where you still cared to, there is a point where you don't anymore.
Yeah.
I believe you would spend some money. I don't believe that you would spend this kind of money. I think you'd make an effort, but you'd be reasonable with it.
I guess maybe if I ever reach a point where a Patrick Swayze movie is no longer doing it for me,
right,
maybe I will shell out a couple of bucks.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to spend $15,000. You just give me a $15 B-Dubs gift card. I'll show you a couple things.
I'd imagine.
It's really not that hard. I feel so bad for these women.
$15,000. Now, you've heard this kind of deep spiritual jibber-jabber before. The organizers of this orgasm retreat come off with lots of talk about connecting to your body, accessing your own erotic, I didn't mean to I think I came off by saying neurotic. They talk about accessing your own erotic energy.
I've heard it's far more mental for women
Yeah,
than it is for gentlemen.
absolutely. They're going to go on this retreat, and it's not going to happen anyway because they're putting too much pressure on it.
Oh, good call. Yeah, because I know a friend of mine, his wife is does not quite have the same libido she did when they first got married. But when they go on vacation and can relax and the kids aren't around and she's not worried about work, he said she becomes the woman that he married.
The woman of his dreams.
Yeah.
All right. Vacation sex is a little bit different than home sex, for sure.
Ladies, if when you sign up for this Jill-off getaway, expect to miss some work. They'll keep you out in the woods for a smooth week.
Oh, my gosh.
Here's the part where it's difficult to believe they can get away with this. It says here, during the retreat, the so-called sex educators use toys, tools, and their gloved hands to, quote, help women reconnect with their bodies and sexuality.
That's
Otherwise
so
known
weird.
as penetration, is I think is what they're...
Yeah.
Gloved hand.
Don't some folks go to jail for this type of thing?
Yep.
Well, if you don't charge money for it, you might, right? Or if that's $15,000, they're paying for it.
Yeah.
If I'm paying $15,000, take that glove off.
Yeah.
I don't want that glove on.
Take
there.
that glove off and dip it in that bucket of petroleum jelly.
That just reminds me of going to the doctor. That's awful.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm the last guy that's going to call the cops on these folks. If you want to make a daisy chain out in the woods, hell, good for you. I'm just fascinated how they can get away with this. Lord have mercy, listen to this. This sounds like a porno movie. At a past orgasm retreat, Ashley, close your eyes and picture this. All of us should close our eyes and picture this. At a past orgasm retreat, a 60-year-old gal...
Nope, I'm done.
Ageist.
My mom is that age. I thought of my mom right away, and I didn't like that.
CFH bass player Jesus has just texted in to say, the female orgasm, nature's Rubik's Cube. Ashley, see if you can get through this now.
Okay.
At a past orgasm, you've already left, but that's okay. Just chill out and hang out with the rest.
Come back.
At a past orgasm retreat, a 60-year-old gal
I'm out. Oh, sorry.
Well, I've lost two of you now?
Yeah, I didn't mean that. I forgot how old I am. I'm fine with that.
Who said she was, quote, sexually dormant after years of a sexless marriage.
I like how she phrased that.
She laid herself out on a massage table, and she was, quote, guided to a climax in front of the other women who were each waiting their turn.
This is like every masseuse porno that's out there.
Yes, it is. It is. The masseuse porno movies, this is how they all play out.
Yes, I didn't know they were based on real events.
So
wow.
These masseuse porno movies.
Yeah.
I can imagine what happens.
You can predict just about everything.
Is it something where the person getting which way does it go? Who's getting massaged, guy, girl, or does it vary?
Well, the ones that are the most popular, without question, is when the hot female goes to see the hot female masseuse.
Oh, I never even thought of that.
Yeah, there's no men anywhere near the hot masseuse porn. Yeah.
Is it a surprise for the person on the table? Or
Yeah.
It is.
Yep, they claim that.
And the masseuse usually says something like, look, I don't try this on everybody, but...
And then the one on the table's like, I don't know if we should be doing this. I don't know if I like it.
And then a third scorching hot female
They bring in
walks
a third?
Yes, and she says, I have a 9:15 appointment. What's taking so long? And then she gets, and it's just a mess. It's a mess. By the end, they need a mop.
Man,
Yeah.
you guys are living. 2 girls, huh?
Sometimes 3, 4.
Nice. And they filmed this. Thank
Yeah.
God there's a camera in there.
Right.
Someone left their camera on. Another exercise. I told you that we were probably only going to get through a couple of stupid news stories here. Another exercise involved is called the art of adoration. And the women's are instructed to dress in something that makes them feel beautiful.
Well, a couple of the pictures I saw, these are sexy ladies. And maybe those are the ones they put on the brochure. Oh, your face disagrees?
Well, I didn't see the same pictures you did, but I'm thinking that might have been doctored up.
Could be, yeah. I mean, those are the ones they put on the brochure, right?
I mean, when you see an ad for a touristy spot, come to Disneyland. I'll just use them as an example. What do they show in the ad? Just the happiest, most adorable, clean-cut families of all time skipping around the Disneyland property.
Mom, Dad, one boy, one girl.
Right. And they're gorgeous.
Of course.
When you really go there, it's a pack of derelicts, barely dressed, uglier than a bag full of...
Well, what do you think? This is what I was talking about. She does something for me.
She looks like a pretty lady.
Yeah.
I don't like the hat.
She has a terrible hat.
You got to wear a hat at orgasm camp, okay, Ashley? That's one of the rules.
You got to wear, but Ashley said,
I didn't even look that high.
We all know that you should wear a hat at an orgasm retreat. All Ashley's saying is wear the right hat.
If you look on their Instagram, that lady is all over the Instagram.
She might be one of the instructors.
Yeah, she run the joint?
There's this weird photo of her. You got to see this.
She's the one who puts that glove on her hand and burp. What am I looking?
She's like hiding behind a rock.
She's half naked hiding behind a rock. It looks like she's taking a piss in the woods.
What is that?
We're not even going to get through 2 stupid news stories.
This is fascinating.
This is good.
$15,000.
Again, this exercise I was telling you about, the art of adoration. The women are instructed to dress in something that makes them feel beautiful. And then they say, the instructors tell them, just lay down on the floor over here. And then the instructors say, let's just put this blindfold on you. And then they turn on some hippie music, and the sex educators touch their thighs and play with their hair, or graze their skin with various textures, like fur. Fur.
That's a nice feeling.
It is.
For those about to orgasm.
Yeah.
Never worn or touched fur outside of petting a dog or cat.
There was a movie called 40 Days, 40 Nights where Josh Hartnett gives a woman an orgasm just by using a feather.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Must have been one hell of a feather.
Here's another quote. I don't know why I said another.
From a cockatoo?
A cockatoo?
What kind of feather was it?
Oh, I don't know exactly.
Doesn't matter.
It's been years.
I thought maybe you were assuming I had a quote from a cockatoo. Here's a
Think
quote.
of a dirty bird name for that.
This is a lady who traded $15,000 to be molested in the woods. And she said this. And by the way, you have to drink every time she says sports car. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Drink every time she says sports car. The gal said, it's like you've been walking around in this incredible sports car. Now, first off, let's dissect that statement. It's like you've been walking around inside this incredible sports car.
Yeah, sports cars are usually quite small.
Right. Okay. It's like you've been walking around in this incredible sports car that no one has driven correctly. And then suddenly, someone knows how to drive your sports car. And you realize that the sports car that the world has told you is too small or too big or too fat or too hairy or not enough was actually the perfect sports car all along. Orgasm retreat, huh? You got it. That'll be $15,000.
That's just insane. Just look up a video on YouTube. Buy some toys.
I'd get kicked out for stupid jokes. Like after everyone left, I'd say, hey, thanks for coming, or I hope you're glad you came.
Son of a bitch.
In the 60s, I made love to many, many women, often outdoors, in the mud and the rain. And it's possible a man slipped in. Would be no way of knowing.
The 93X Half-Assed Morning Show.
93X. Josh, I don't even want to tell you what I was just reading about.
What's popping?
I don't want to tell you.
Well, now I want to know.
I don't want to stress out a future Minnesota Broadcasting Hall of Famer. I was reading all about what they call here unscrupulous tradespeople. And the reason I don't want to tell Cubby about this is you see workers in your home more often than you see family members that actually live there.
That is true. I've got some coming over today.
Unbelievable.
Of course.
Here's the thing, though. I only hire unscrupulous ones.
Oh, so this is no concern of yours.
No, not at all.
You've got
I seek them out.
Years of experience with.
If I see positive reviews, I'm not interested.
Oh, you see more people with tool belts and ladders and paintbrushes than you see the family members that live in your home as a future Minnesota Broadcasting Hall of Famer.
And that's not true. And if I could, I'd like to, I don't compliment myself very often, but I'm going to here. I called it. Before we moved in, I told my wife, I said, are you sure? This house just seems like there's a lot wrong with it.
Right. You knew.
There was way more.
You had a feeling.
I had a feeling. You got to trust your gut.
That sucks so much.
We are so trapped in that house now, never going to be able to afford to leave.
I've been in my house now for almost 2 years, and I've only ever had to have somebody out once, and I needed a new AC unit, so they weren't really in the house much, and that's about it.
You know why that is?
Why?
Your wife didn't pick the house. Or I'm sorry, my wife didn't pick the house. Had my wife picked the house, it would have been trouble for you. Yeah, we had to get a brand new furnace and air conditioner the third day we were there.
Oh, that's lovely.
That's
It was in
not
January.
right.
They said, "Hey, you got some. What do they call it? Oh, darn it, I know the name of it. I know people. Help me out. 651-989-9393. It's not an air exchanger, but there's something in the furnace. Basically, it was cracked. It's killing me. I know the name for it, and it was leaking out CO2 or whatever that is. And they said, "Hey, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
We have to red tag this. We got to alert the city." So day 3 of owning the house had already started.
I like to think the previous owner set up lawn chairs across the street just to watch, as the struggles that you faced almost immediately upon moving in. They're like, look at this sucker. Look at him. Oh, happy moving day. Yeah. They got popcorn going.
Dana, you know that when they sold that house, they thought, oh, you sorry son of a bitch.
I've been over to Cubby's place a few times, and his pickup is the only one in the driveway without a logo on the door. So I love the stories. I've enjoyed your stories over the years.
Heat exchanger. Thank you, brother and sister.
Heat exchange. You and I exchange heat from time to time. You bought a garbage house, and it's killing you, and you've been hemorrhaging money for decades now.
We wanted a fixer-upper, right? But I still thought, gosh, this might be a little too much. And here's another sign. It sat unsold for almost 4 years.
Whoa.
So a lot of people toured it before us and thought, this might be too much of a project.
Hemorrhaging money. So it says here 20% of homeowners. Now, first off, I want to go on record by saying I don't like to say these things out loud because I worship those people.
So do I.
The electricians and the plumbers and the folks on the roof and the folks working on your floor and the walls and this and that. I worship those people because they do the work that I am, number one, not qualified to do, but number two, not interested at all in undertaking. So I need these people. I will always be so thankful that someone went out there and learned a trade. I should have. So I
wish I knew how to do it too. I ask questions. Sometimes I think, okay, I got to leave these guys alone because I'm so fascinated by what they do, and it's such a skill.
You become obsessive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I'm going to miss having those guys there.
They'll always be there.
Eastbound at eastbound at sundown. She said your home inspector should face a firing squad. Yeah, I have some. I don't know if we need to go that far, but I'm a little.
Yeah, he mailed it in that day.
But I will say some of that stuff, some of the stuff that's wrong with the house. People, I've had contractors say, you know what? There's no way a home inspector. They don't go through this deep. So and the problem is something gets fixed, and then they find something else wrong.
I forgot about the home inspector. But you just said a second ago, you said, I'm going to miss those guys. Do you really think there'll be a day where they're not in your home?
Yeah, we're getting there, man. So here's an example.
I hope so. I hope so.
Shoot, so many texts are coming in. Dang it. I'm sorry. I want to give you credit. Somebody sent in a picture of their deck that is completely fallen apart.
Oh, we got a deck pic?
Yeah, we got a deck pic.
Oh,
I
my
love
God.
deck pics.
Yeah, me too.
So
I've sent them. I've received them.
The contractor I use now, I met because he came out to take a look at our deck, right? And I've heard this so many times. I hear two things. Did you do this? Because they don't want to insult me because it was done so incorrectly. And I say, no, I wouldn't know how to even screw that up.
Yeah.
And the second is I've never seen this before. I've heard that so many times. So our deck was super wobbly.
Oh.
And I thought it had something to do with they had to remove it to re-stucco the house and put new windows in because we had so much water damage. It was insane. So when they put it back on, they did their best. And I thought, well, that must be it. They had to remove it, put it back on. It's not the same. And so it got so wobbly that we wouldn't even let the dogs out there because when they're bigger dogs and when they'd shake, the whole thing would shake.
Oh, that's so sketchy.
We didn't let people on it for over a year. We didn't let our dogs on it. So they came out, and it had these decorative boxes around the posts.
Sure.
Holding it up. And the guy's like, listen, we're going to rebuild this, but the decorative boxes are kind of expensive. Are you cool with just posts? Of course. Yeah, just use posts. So he called me. He's like, here's the thing. We wanted to save your posts. The only problem is you don't have any. I've never seen it. I had no posts holding that thing up. It was just these decorative boxes.
That's all that was holding that?
That was it. He said he was actually saying it was kind of a marvel of engineering that it never fell over, but he had never seen that before, and he builds decks all summer.
You're lucky you didn't end up being crushed by that damn thing.
One good eye Jesus sent in the deck pics. Thank you for those.
We don't normally accept that kind of thing around here. We can get in trouble for deck picks, but today is special. So here's the statistic that, like I was saying, I don't even want to say out loud because of how much you worker folks mean to me. 20% of homeowners have been boned hard by shady workers running a scam on their ass. Running a scam.
Well, yeah, they talk about storm chasers for sure. I mean,
I didn't even consider those people. I was just considering you hire someone, you have them into your home, and then.
Well, yeah, that's exactly that situation. They come out, maybe they do some work. We had an experience like that where the storm chasers were in our neighborhood, and the guy came over and to take a look. He's like, hey, I'm in your neighborhood. Let me just take a look. I'll jump on your roof. I'll look at a couple things. And he started making indents with his thumb and a tool.
You saw him do this?
Yeah. Yeah, to say, hey, I can get you a certain amount of money for that. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I'm not trying to commit insurance fraud here, and I don't want you to damage my house. So I didn't use that guy. I mean, he was obviously a crook.
I've always heard the stories. I've never had one of those folks walk up on me. I've certainly heard about storm chasers and this and that.
Maybe they just left something on your door if you didn't answer. You've never had that? We've had so much.
I get those guys, and then I also get the people that want to spray my yard for bugs.
Okay.
I get at least 10 of those dudes.
Are they on hoverboards or what are those things called? That in Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Yeah.
Segways.
Are they on Segways?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, and it's usually handsome young men.
I took the time last time some guy rolled up on the Segway to ask him about it. It's like, what's the deal with this?
Yeah, they're all cruising around Segways.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever encountered a storm chaser type of a guy. Let me get on your roof and let me look at your siding, that kind of a thing.
There was one time.
I have had the bug inspector. We'll get the bugs away from your house, right?
Yep.
We used one, and it was beautiful.
Really?
It worked. It was legit from top to bottom.
We've got one.
So just saying, they're not all shady bastards.
We like ours. We had a couple of mice infestations, so they came out. They also took care of the bugs. Those guys are great.
I have a hard time agreeing to the bug thing because I'm like, well, I don't know. They're outside. That's where they're supposed to be.
Well,
I don't mind.
That was our problem. They were inside.
Oh,
so we said, sure, we'll give these fools a shot, and they did the trick.
That almost led to my wife didn't tell me that she hired someone to come out, and this was winter when she did, and it almost led to a call to the cops because all of a sudden I noticed there's footprints all around my house, like up, and then they kind of curved towards the doors, towards the windows, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, somebody was trying to break into our house. And my wife hadn't told me she hired somebody. And so I had mentioned it to her because we were supposed to go to this party, but I'm like, well, I don't want to leave in case this person comes back. And she said, oh, no, that was the bug guy. He was out there spraying. So he's spraying the foundation of the house.
You thought you had a peeping Tom.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought because nobody told me there was somebody coming out.
So the old mantra, if that's the word, when it comes to hiring somebody to do this or that at the house, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Look out for scammers. Nowadays, they usually just try to get us over the telephone. But sometimes, they'll come right to your damn door. Oh, man. I hope there is a day, Josh, when you are finally done. No more walls, ceilings,
I think we're there.
Decks.
Yeah.
You think you're getting close.
Because you know how it is when you move into a place and you think, we're going to make this our own. New carpeting, new paint. Well, none of that we've been able to afford yet. It's all fixing crap.
And none of the fun stuff.
The most
basic living.
The most recent one is our contractor. We find out the vents aren't attached correctly. He goes up into the attic to try and attach stuff and said, hey, your heating bill's kind of high. I'm like, well, they do seem a little high. And he said, well, it could be because you have no insulation in your attic. None. How does the inspector not catch that one? Anyways.
I hear you. And I forgot about the inspector. Yeah, I remember having a conversation with that guy before I moved into the home I'm in now. Very nice guy. Of course, kind of like when we had a conversation here the other day with a new engineer in the building. I didn't understand 90% of what the inspector was telling me, just like I didn't understand 90% of the conversation we had with the new engineer in the building. But
well, that guy, he talks in a language that most people would never understand.
I didn't understand. So, but back to the home inspector, very nice guy. Of course, there was some that I understood, and I did have certain questions for him. I just wish he would have told me one thing, and maybe I'm asking too much, that he would have been able to give me this information after just inspecting the home for 5-6 hours or however long he was there. I wish he would have told me one thing about my current home. This is the coldest spot in Hennepin County, and possibly the entire state of Minnesota. I live in the coldest home, I'm convinced, at least in the county. He didn't tell me that. I wish he would have. So there you go, Cubby. You haven't had any horror stories, really, where you... I mean, okay, you
not
thought...
from a contract. Only one from a contractor.
One shady story.
Yeah, and this was our previous house, and it was a hailstorm again. And it was actually right before we closed on the house. There's a really bad hailstorm, and the woman, she picked a contractor, and she moved out. We moved in, and so we're like, okay, whatever. And they had cut off the exhaust on the outside of the house, those two pipes from the furnace, and they sided over it.
Oh, my God.
And I have Apollo out every year to do a tune-up.
That's a good way to wake up dead.
That's exactly what they told me.
So this wasn't your choice.
No, it was before. It was right when we were moving in.
Before you guys bought the house, the lady before there had sealed.
The contractor did. He thought it was like a vent from an old vented stove or oven. I mean,
that's frightening.
I know. And they're like, you guys could have died.
So you had the guy come around, you said, that was putting dents in your siding and saying, hey, I can get you some money for this storm damage. But you've never hired anyone where for sure, oh, that guy boned me.
No.
Good. Plenty of folks have, and, you feel foolish, you feel like a sucker, but it could happen to anybody. The only one I can think of, I've already told you about a couple of times, where we had some younger dudes go into the basement to do some work. They didn't clean up a single thing, That's one of the things you want out of that type of a service, clean up the mess when you're done, because a lot of that work can be very messy. So that was one problem.
We have had that.
Yeah, after it was all said and done, I went downstairs and I said, wow, they did a great job, until I looked on the floor and it was just, they just left pieces of shrapnel.
That sucks.
But okay, whatever. I had to get the vacuum out. The only real complaint from those two young fellers who did end up doing a good job. They did not clean up, but they ended up doing a good job. I told you before that they brought in their boom box and they were cranking just some awful indie rock or something. It was just. I wasn't home at the time. I wasn't home. But the wife had to go halfway down the stairs and go, "Hey, turn it down for Christ's sake. This isn't your dorm. This isn't a frat house." She's working upstairs. She works from home usually. And they're just pumping some horrible local rock. I didn't mean local like all the local. Like a garage band, like a high school garage band is what they sounded like.
Yeah, I'm lucky where I haven't run into that. Or maybe I have been scammed and I have no idea.
I suppose.
Maybe I paid
always
3 times as much as...
And the amount of time these projects seem to take for you, Josh, it's almost like they're stalling a little bit.
Well, that's pandemic related, right?
Oh, okay.
Just things take forever to get in and stuff like that. Or that, somebody ships something that gets broken along the way.
That's how it goes. But I'll tell you, again, if it wasn't for you folks, I'd be living in a cardboard box that's leaned up against my parents' home. If it wasn't for you folks who do the wonderful work that you do.
Me too. I love it. And I'm going to miss it when they're not around anymore because it's been, almost 4 years of somebody in there doing something.
Well, you know what you could do? Okay, so they're not in your home anymore. You could do something that my neighbor does.
What's that?
Anytime a work truck pulls into someone else's driveway or a crew is in a yard, you can leave your home, walk up and say, "So what are you guys doing?
Mind if I watch?
What do you got going on? Are you trimming some trees? What are you doing? Some electrical work? What are you doing?" Maybe you could just be the neighborhood guy that pops in and asks, "Hey, what's the project?" And then, of course, the workers are forced to tell you what they're doing. You could be that guy.
Oh, we got a couple of those in the neighborhood, certainly. A couple of nosy neighbors.
My dad and a couple of his buddies, before they all passed on, they had some tree trimmers in the neighborhood. And so they pulled their pickup, 3 guys sitting in a pickup, hip to hip, old school pickup with the bench seats. These are retired gentlemen. They got nothing better to do. So they pulled their pickup onto the scene of this massive tree cutting and tree trimming job, and they just sat in the cab of the truck and drank beer, smoked cigarettes, and watched the job happen.
That is fun.
I like watching. I like doing the same thing.
In the last couple of years, I've had 5 trees on my property go down. Horrible mess. One of them landed on top of my brand new shed and popped it like a zit on prom night. Total disaster. Hated it. Part of the reason why I hate trees so much was that 5 of them decided to tip over onto my friggin' property in the last couple of years. But watching those dudes operate with the crane and the whole works, I had a friggin' crane in my yard. Watching how they operate, I didn't want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Normally when I get done with this nightmare, I go home, I eat a meal fit for a 7-year-old, and I go to sleep for a couple hours. I didn't want to sleep on those days because watching what they did was incredible.
A couple summers ago, we had just a ton of rain, and all of a sudden my son comes in and he said, "Dad, one of the trees is messed up." I'm like, "What do you mean?" And so he said, I look out the window, and it was at like a 45-degree angle. This was a 40-foot tree. So believe it or not, I have a tree guy. I called him up and just said, "Hey, when you get a chance, can you run out here? I think this forget about it." It fell as I was watching, and luckily it missed absolutely. It was right next to the house, but it fell perfectly across the yard. So I got lucky, and I know you weren't so lucky.
Oh, it was terrible, man. It was terrible. So happy that, there's folks out there who could swing by with a crane and clean that mess up. The one time I was on the phone with a buddy, and I heard like this, and it was so deep, like a real bassy sound, that I couldn't tell where it came from. And I said to my buddy on the phone, I said, was that on your end? And he said, I didn't hear anything. And I said, you didn't hear that, like, deep thud? And he said, no. So I kind of was walking around the house with the phone up to my face. I look out the window, tree down in my front yard. Great. I got to call you back. Sucked.
Gosh, you hate trees
Oh,
so
I hate
much.
trees.
I like trees.
Oh, no.
I mean, raking kind of sucks, but luckily we don't have a lot of leaf-bearing trees.
I like raking.
Raking sucks.
Oh, I hate it. I hate
raking's
it.
the worst,
Trees
actually.
suck. Shade sucks. What's your guy again, Lindahl?
Yes.
Tell Chris Lindahl, when this is over, meaning our radio careers, I want him to find me a house. I want him to find me a house where there isn't a tree within, I'd like 5 miles of leeway between me and the nearest tree.
Well, make sure you take his advice if he suggests maybe this isn't the house for you. If your wife argues or says, well, you know what, I think this is the one, make sure you listen to what he says.
I will.
Because I didn't one time, and let me tell you, I got a couple stories.
I'll certainly have you in mind.
Now, this wasn't an unscrupulous tradesman by any means, but I did recently. I told you I had a swimming pool all of a sudden in our dining room, which, by the way, we've never used. And it was a plumber. There was some sort of bad weld, and I'm sure it could happen to anybody. So that's not unscrupulous, but that's like the only real horror story outside of the crew that tried to kill us by cutting off our exhaust pipes. That's about it. You haven't had anything else other than kind of messy, right? Nothing bad.
Oh, the water in the basement.
Well, I mean, like a tradesperson kind of made a mistake.
No, not like you said earlier. Not as far as I know. When the dude says, "Hey, I'm going to dump a couple 1,000 pounds worth of insulation into your attic here, okay?" And I go, "Okay," and then I take a nap. Right? I'm not watching it. He might have just went up there and smoked some pot. I don't know.
That's a good point. I wonder if the guys I hired to insulate, if they put anything up there.
Yeah, am I going to go up there and check? Hell no. But when the guy came down, I woke up from my nap. He came down from the attic. He was filthy. That was enough evidence for me to assume that he did the job. But maybe he just went up there and rubbed one out and smoked some grass. I don't know.
Just jerking off in the attic.
Yeah.
I do know a guy who, when he was working for his dad owned a company. He was a contractor. He did masturbate in an empty house. My buddy did.
Oh,
yeah.
what?
When he was a teenager.
No.
The house was empty, Ashley.
No, don't do that.
He worked for a builder that built new homes, so nobody was living there yet, but somebody moved into a house that had previously been masturbated in.
Pre-masturbated.
And they'll
home.
never know.
93X Half-Assed Morning Show.
Well, if it isn't our wonderful podcast listener, the ones that all of us on hams love the most. Dana here to give you a little gentle reminder to hit up our friends at Standard Heating and Air Conditioning and tune up that AC before it fully turns into crotch soup season. June through August are Standard's busy season for getting AC units up to snuff, so get ahead of the curve and have them ensure you don't have a summer where you pit out every shirt you own. Book in May during their pre-summer heat savings event, and you'll beat the rush and save yourself some walking around money. Call Standard Heating today or visit standardheating.com. Enjoy the show. We sincerely appreciate you checking us out each and every day.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Bombas makes the most comfortable socks, underwear, and T-shirts.
Warning, Bombas are so absurdly comfortable you may throw out all your other clothes.
Sorry, do we legally have to say that?
No, this is just how I talk, and I really love my Bombas.
They do feel that good. And they do good, too. One item purchased equals one item donated.
To feel good and do good, go to bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/listen and use code LISTEN at checkout.
93X Half-Assed Morning Show.
I wouldn't have sex with you if I was starving and your wiener was a ham sandwich. 93X rocks.
I'm a victim of a crime.
You have currently been
committed.
robbed? What happened?
Committed Yes, robbed of some innocence. This crime was committed upon me by one of my most trusted associates. The most elaborate D-pic assault in the history of wieners on camera. I was the victim of.
Doesn't surprise me.
You got to talk to me here. You've received a D-pic from someone that you trusted.
Yeah.
And you called it what?
I called, what do you mean, the whole thing?
Yeah.
I called it the most elaborate D-pic assault in the history of wieners on camera.
That sounds awful.
It's a story of misdirection, cunning patience, a determination that I unknowingly exposed myself to a surprise penis that I didn't want to see. And a friend of mine was framed for the phallus. This guy, this evil genius, he thought so much about this that I'm impressed and disturbed at the same time. So I have a friend who, he loves the internet smut. And he also enjoys sending friends some of the web's more odd-looking penises. It's just something he does.
He sends his friends.
Like, hey, I saw this, and he'll explain what was going on, right? He'll say, hey, in this scene, this was happening, and look at this weird penis, right?
Man, I don't know if this, I don't know if I'd want to hang with this sumbitch.
Oh, he's one of the best guys I know, and for this kind of clever genius. But so usually he'll respect my request not to send me that. I don't want to see it.
Right.
But every once in a while, he would break that agreement.
Okay.
And especially if, like, he's like, hey, you want to come over for this? And I'd say, no, I don't want to come over for that. Then he'd have a retaliation weird penis. And usually it's the same one.
Okay.
It used to be this guy, massive specimen, wearing red basketball shorts pulled down to his knees. And he used to send that to me in so many different situations that he bought me red basketball shorts for Christmas. So it was we knew what was going on there.
I was with you once at a youth sporting event when he sent you that photo.
That's right. I forgot about that.
So I know about this, so I kind of almost feel like a victim because I looked at that photo while there were children around.
That's right.
Running around playing sports.
Yeah, you were a party to that, and the look on your face was the same as mine anytime it showed up.
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it catches a guy off guard.
All right, so I have to take you back about 3 weeks at this point.
3 weeks now, Ashley.
So about 3 weeks ago, I activated that censoring feature on phones that can automatically blur dirty photos.
Dirty photos.
Yeah, so he was stymied. I said, go ahead, send whatever you want, because I just see a blurry thing. I know it was inappropriate right away. I could delete it, didn't have to worry about it. Now we fast forward to last Friday. I checked the mail, and I saw an invoice from a contractor who's doing some subpar work on my house right now.
All right.
And I thought, well, that's odd, because he's done a lot of stuff at our house, and usually he emails me. But he was out of town, so I thought, okay, that's what he mailed this invoice.
Went to your mailbox at your home.
Right. And so, like I said, usually he'll email me the overcharging that he does for me over and over and over again. And then I open it, and I brought it in case anybody wants to see. I open it, and it says, let me get the direct quote. Overdue, due immediately. And it has been a while since he invoiced me. And then I open it up. And it's a penis, which I learned later was a guy edging, right?
Oh, great.
I'm glad he gave you the context on the D-pic.
I text the contractor and called him a bastard. I'm like, I can't believe you did this to me. Well, it was another friend who wrote the contractor's information on there, so he framed the phallus on a completely innocent guy. And I talked to the friend, the guilty party, and explained the situation. I'm like, I can't believe he did that. I was shocked. That's out of his personality. And then I finally, and it never dawned on me that he'd be behind it. And he revealed that he was the guy that, he told me, he's like, I told you I was going to get you with another D-pic. So he waited 3 weeks and mailed me this picture of a penis.
Wow, that is a lot of effort.
That's dedication right
there.
It's
the best prank that's ever been pulled on me. This is better than Gator Jesus when he texted in a fake name, and I was so excited to mention that his family member was making a debut for the Wild. He got called up, and he gave me one of those fake names. The first name was Gabe, and then maybe you've heard the rest.
Right.
He got me big time. I can't believe I fell for that. So this was good. And if anybody wants to see it,
I'll take a peek.
You want to take a peek?
Yeah, I want to see it.
All right,
curious
are you
now.
sure? Is this HR approved? I don't know.
Yeah, if I agree to it, right?
I mean, you're on thin ice already with the Human Resources Department, Josh, but you got to do what you got to do.
So if you're consenting, you can open that up if you want. I was expecting
that is ridiculous.
to see an invoice, and that's what I saw.
And
what would you have rather had, a big bill or the penis picture?
The bill.
Ouch.
This guy may, in fact,
painful.
be Big Bill. I don't know.
Yeah,
Wow.
He's got like a C ring on there. It looks like he's ready to go. And
It looks really painful.
Yeah, so my friend told me he was watching an edging video and screenshotted that, waited 3 weeks and mailed it to me.
So you have this friend who's so dedicated to this gimmick, over and over again, sending you pictures of strange-looking internet penises. He committed himself to this elaborate bit. I'll give a guy credit where credit is due. You likely never suspected that you would receive a weird penis pic in your old school mailbox at the house.
And I was so unprepared for it that I believed that it came from this other guy.
Why wouldn't you? You always have contractors at your home.
Yeah, and he was out of town, so I thought, okay, maybe that's why. And it said open immediately, so we get all this training on cybersecurity. I fell for it. There was the urgency, right, to get you to do something. So I open it, and I go, wow, I better pay this. It says do immediately, and that's what I find. And so there were some clues. And one of them is I never realized it's got a stamp on this envelope, and I didn't look closely enough. You know how the post office will put their ink stamp over it, saying received here or whatever they say. There's nothing like that on here.
Okay. So that's something I never would have noticed.
So he also drove to my house to put this in my mailbox, which, by the way, I think is a federal offense.
I think it is, actually.
To mail someone adult material?
Someone's, well, that too, but put something in someone's mailbox. I thought there was a rule against that.
This dude has a lot of time on his hands.
Well, he owns his own business. He's the boss.
What a friggin' story.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's one of the better pranks that's ever been pulled on.
That's so fun, though.
We all have an appreciation for a decent prank. Wow. Great friggin' story. Like I said, I don't know if I would want this guy as one of my bros, but there you go.
By the way, I faked every orgasm.
93X.
Half-assed morning show.
Welcome to the show, Dr. James Parnell, otherwise known as Pickleball Parnell or Dr. PG. Says, good morning, brother.
Good morning.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you, too.
You look like you've gotten some sun.
Really? No,
yeah.
I don't think so.
Is it blood pressure?
Are you angry?
Well, I'm always angry. No, just kidding. I have rosacea, which is like a red face sort of condition. It's kind of an adult acne. It's very annoying.
Oh, no, you look tan. You don't look rosacea-y.
I've always thought that was pretty cute on people.
I saw sun through the windshield this morning. But that's about it.
I like how Josh was like, that's not rosacea, dude. You were out in the sun.
You're so kind. No, rosacea is very annoying. It's
Trust me, medical professional.
Right.
Okay, well, I'll mention that to my dermatologist that they're absolutely wrong.
My wife has it.
Oh, really?
She uses some product and it went away.
A prescription or something?
You should talk to a doctor.
Yeah, I don't know. Something that she
do.
gets mailed to her.
Okay, probably a prescription. Yeah, I use it's called azelaic acid topically, which is it's a dermatology prescription medicine, and it helps. It's just a very annoying thing. My dad has it. My brother, I think, has it a bit.
Well, you wear it well.
Yeah,
thank you.
Honestly,
as long as red is how you like to look.
You look tan.
It's like natural blush.
Great.
Signs, how about we start with signs of a concussion for adults, because Cubby hit his head earlier, and we were a little worried about him. Signs of a concussion for an adult. And one other question, is it true that if you think they've rung their bell well enough, that they should not go to sleep? That's what we always heard. If you ring your bell, don't go to sleep because you'll wake up dead.
Yeah, I mean, the signs of concussion it varies tremendously. Obviously, headache. That's probably the cardinal one. But
anything there, Cubby?
Nope.
Change to vision, like blurry vision or double vision.
Nothing yet, no.
How do you, let me test this. This is an inside
my
joke.
vision felt like it dulled a little bit, but maybe it's just dark in here. I don't know.
Quick inside joke. Let's see if your vision is still okay, Josh. How do you view me?
Positively.
Okay. Go ahead. Other signs of a
definite concussion.
Yeah.
You can feel nauseous. You can feel tired. You just, basically you just feel out of it. Memory, it's not a feeling, but difficulty with memory or orientation to, time, place.
Sure. Is it different for a child? Because when I looked this up on the internet, there were two separate categories: symptoms for a child and symptoms for an adult.
I mean, I think they're still similar. Obviously, you may be able to get a better history out of an adult.
Mm-hmm.
It depends how old the kid is, but I think once the kid is 10 or 12, they should be able to give you a decent history. The sleep thing, I'm going to look that up in between because it's something that I have definitely heard over the years. I think it's just you want someone to check on you overnight if there's a question of how severe it is. I mean, I think at this point, it's basically if you got your bell rung pretty good and you're not feeling normal, it's good to go get checked out. You don't usually need a CT scan of your head, but there are some reasons that you do. And I mean, they're looking for bleeding, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, a concussion is your brain getting rattled around in your skull. The nerves that come out of your brain get kind of stretched this way and that, and you're going to feel bad. But yeah, mostly it's just time and rest. But
what is that walking death thing? Remember that, Josh?
Yeah.
Walking death.
Yeah, was it Liam Neeson's wife that had it? Where they take a real hard hit, and then they seem okay, and all of a sudden they die.
Yeah. I don't remember what, I think, did she have a subdural hematoma?
Well, that's the right person, isn't it?
I have to look up what happened.
Sounds
here.
right to me.
Yeah, I remember she was like on the bunny hill, fell over, seemed okay. If I recall correctly, she had a subdural hematoma, but I could be wrong. But that's basically not bleeding in your brain, but bleeding around your brain, which can cause pressure on your brain, and that can be pretty subtle. But again, that's a thing you see on CT scan.
That scares the hell out of me. That
that you seem okay.
Yeah.
And then
yeah, I mean, concussions are it's frustrating because obviously it happens a lot. Almost always it's going to be okay as long as it's relatively mild, but there's a very standardized assessment these days in terms of doing a physical exam, taking the history, and then the recommendations. The sleep thing is really, I think, just you just don't want to go to sleep and not have someone around checking on you.
Check on you here and there. Appreciate it, Dr. P. We were worried about Josh a little earlier. I think you're fine.
Yeah, more than anything, it was like there was like a sharp piece of metal. That's the part that hurt the most.
Ouch. Yeah, I would say you're probably less likely to get a concussion from that just because it'll sort of dent your head more than slow your head down.
People are texting in saying Bob Saget died from a lick to the head and then he went to sleep and died. I don't recall.
Yeah, he took a hit to the head.
Did he really?
Mm-hmm.
On the
headboard of the bed.
He did?
Mm-hmm.
I'll be.
Oh,
Veteran,
really?
Veteran Jesus said he hasn't had a solid poop for years after serving overseas in Iraq.
Oh.
And when he has to go immediately.
Huh.
And then all caps help.
How many years?
Yeah, I don't have any other info than that.
Son of a
That is not a way to live.
I mean, obviously, I would think you would really want to go in and be checked. Having been in Iraq, I'm not sure if there's anything there that's particularly common that I can identify. But having your having a stool study.
That's yours.
Whose stool is it?
Yeah, that's stool for sure.
Oh, hey, that's not mine. Having a stool culture and trying to see if there's any parasites or something, because
I'm thinking bugs.
I mean, if if it has nothing to do with that, then did you say how old? Well, let's see. Iraq. So, boy, he probably is older then, right?
Maybe you can get back to us and tell us more.
I mean, boy, there's so many things. Thyroid problems can cause diarrhea. There's all sorts of. There's ulcerative colitis. There's Crohn's disease. Those tend to have not just loose stool, but blood in the stool. There's a thing called microscopic colitis. Some of those are identified on colonoscopy. So if he's 50,
Code Brown 24/7 covered.
Or even 45, he should be getting this checked out to have a colonoscopy too. But
boy, that Crohn's disease, we worked with a guy who had that, and that was no joke. No joke.
It is no joke. Fortunately, there are some really pretty amazing medicines now that have come out. I don't know, maybe the last 10 years that really do modulate the immune system and can get it under control without having to be on prednisone. Because a lot of those people with ulcerative colitis had to be on high-dose prednisone, which is a steroid, it's a great thing for conditions in the short term, but having to stay on it long term, you get kind of bloated and you kind of go crazy, you don't sleep.
I'll tell you what, the dude who had Crohn's that we used to work with, I gotta say, I don't think I ever saw him sprinting for the bathroom. But you could hear it from across the room.
Especially when he was stressed.
You could hear his stomach
gurgling.
And this may not have been related. I just always assumed it was. During stressful meetings and whatnot, you could hear his stomach burr, that kind of thing. I always thought it was related, but I don't know.
He might have had some irritable bowel, too. Which,
Dude.
The old Ibs.
Did you ever see him running for the bathroom?
Just when they laid him off.
Oh,
Veteran
my
Jesus,
God.
Ouch. Said, true story. Veteran Jesus at 42 years old, healthy otherwise, no blood in poop, LOL. So that's the response here.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that change what you're thinking at all?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, I think getting in to talk to somebody, again, having, it's called stool culture, and for ova and parasites, O and P, and probably the doc would just need to look up Iraq and see if there's any other odd things that maybe need to be screened for.
Sure.
But if you have persistent diarrhea for years and you don't find anything treatable with, antibiotics or antiparasitics, then usually a colonoscopy to see what's going on.
All right. While we're in that general neighborhood, ask Dr. P. This next text message begins. I started taking Ozempic, for my diabetes, and it gave me the worst gas ever. Is there something I could take for that? Have you heard of that as a side effect?
Well, so Ozempic is one of the GLP-1 medications. Does that sound familiar at all to anybody?
No.
Yeah.
So it's, this class of weight loss medicines that are also, some of them can be, most of them can be used for diabetes and or weight loss. Some of them are approved for one or the other.
Right.
But Ozempic, what is it called? Mounjaro, I think. I don't know the brand names. But they, so that's what a lot of celebrities are using these days.
Right, I've heard the stories.
Yeah. But they are notorious for having a lot of gastrointestinal side effects.
Oh.
So
all those types of drugs, though?
All of them. They do a number of things. They do some endocrine things that can kind of help curb your appetite. They slow gastric emptying. So if you eat, you hopefully get a full sensation quicker because it's sort of sitting in your stomach. But it does slow down transit through the intestines, too. So people can get constipation or even, severe constipation, bowel obstruction, things like that. So the doses started very low, usually for a month or two and then gradually increased. So gassiness is what they said?
Yeah.
So, again, it may not be a big deal, but it's definitely important to talk to whoever's prescribing it for you to make sure that they know that's going on.
Go to a social event, you're walking out of the room every 5 minutes.
Yeah, right.
That doesn't sound worth it to me.
Yeah, if you see a thin person leaving the room, that's probably what they're on.
Would you just dose them? Just forget about it? Just dose them and let them deal with it instead of walking out of the room?
Right. But it's, I think a lot of people who are on that need to be on sort of things to help prevent constipation, like healthy fiber diets.
Okay.
Maybe some Miralax, which can kind of help move things through.
Wow. So you look great. You've lost weight, but it sounds like kind of a battle to keep everything evened out.
I think, people struggle with it at first, and my understanding is it gets better a few months in. And it's an area that has just exploded in the last couple of years. This category of medicine, some early ones have been around for 10 years, but the early ones didn't quite have as much weight loss. So it's opened up a whole world of
sure,
and they're hard to get because
everybody wants it.
Everybody in Hollywood is on it.
When Ozempic, I thought that was for people who had diabetes.
It is.
And now some people with diabetes are like, hey, I need that, and
right.
I can't get it.
It is a problem.
That's the story I hear. 2 pumps and a squeeze. Jesus texted in to say, I like modulating my immune system. My farts are auto-tuned now. I'm not sure what he means by that, to be totally honest with you, but he said fart, so I went with it, Ashley.
More
yeah.
I just went for it.
I get it.
More espresso, less depresso, Jesus. How would I go about stopping having heartburn every morning and throughout most of the day?
I was just asking Dr. P about this off air, yeah.
Yeah, I know you're dealing with it right
How do I make it stop?
In the morning and also throughout the bulk of the rest of the day.
Yeah. It's...
Is it that coffee he's drinking, espresso?
There's all sorts of things it could be.
Yeah.
I guess it's, part of the question is have you been having this for a long time? Is it new? Have you changed your diet? How much alcohol do you drink? What makes it worse or better? If you're overweight, it's more likely. There's all sorts of. If he's pregnant, like our friend Ashley. But there are good over-the-counter medications that can be used. Ideally, you just use them for a couple weeks or a month and try to get things to calm down inside your upper intestinal system. It's the stomach, esophagus that are giving that sensation, and it's just if it's in kind of a chronic state of irritation, it's hard to recover from it. So Zantac is sort of a brand name of a older medication that can be helpful. Medicines like Prilosec they're not new, but they're a newer and stronger type of medication. Again, they're all over the counter these days, and you can take those for a couple weeks and see if it's feeling better.
Ashley, some people say that milk will help heartburn.
Yeah, I've tried that.
What have you tried?
It's not doing the job. Milk.
You've tried milk?
What kinds of milk? Just regular milk, like skim milk?
Regular milk. Regular milk, because chocolate milk can make it worse. Have you guys ever had a GI cocktail before?
A GI cocktail?
No.
Oh my gosh, it's the best thing that's ever been created by
Does
science.
that stand for gastrointestinal?
Yeah,
Yes,
and it has, is it called lidocaine in it?
It does.
Yeah, so it numbs and cools your throat when you have acid reflux.
Okay.
And it's literally just the best thing ever.
Would you say, Dr. P, that heartburn is a young person's issue for the most part? Because I always talk about how I had bad heartburn when I was like 23 to 27, and then it went away, and I almost never have it. And whenever I tell that story, a lot of other people say, oh, yeah, it beat me up when I was young, too, and then it subsided.
That's interesting.
That's the experience I've had, at least.
Most people I know are old.
Because we're eating terrible things, we're drinking and falling down and having random encounters with women.
It may be.
It gives you heartburn.
Yeah, you get heartburn from that.
When their boyfriend shows up in the morning, you got to get out of there.
Plus the stress.
Right. It is. I think it probably is different reasons for an adult.
Okay.
A young adult, there is probably more behavioral. For an older adult, it may be more of a chronic condition.
Okay.
What were we just saying? Oh, the GI cocktail. I mean, that's something that's used like in urgent care or the emergency room. If somebody comes in with pain and you're sort of saying, is it their heart or is it their gastrointestinal system? A GI cocktail is liquid Benadryl with Maalox and sometimes with a little bit of lidocaine, which is an anesthetic. You slug that down. If the pain goes away immediately, that would suggest that it's in your esophagus or stomach. It's not diagnostic, but it's helpful.
Can you buy this over the counter?
You don't.
Tried.
We don't really recommend treating with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of
just mixing that with gin some night out in the fish house. Or
You
something.
have no. I've pleaded with them. Like, can I get some?
You
to
want it
take
real
home,
bad.
I mean, you could
please?
use
Yeah.
some Maalox, which.
All right.
Yeah.
I've been so lucky. I had it once. I can't believe how miserable it is.
Heartburn.
I feel for people.
You've only had it once?
Just once.
Wow.
I got a combo of that and acid reflux.
You went to Chipotle 3 times a day for 7 years, and you've only had heartburn once?
I have a cast iron stomach.
I guess so.
Part. It was just one time, and it was absolutely miserable.
Even with your 2 liters of Mountain Dew
Yeah.
every morning.
That's
I think
impressive.
I've made myself immune.
Probably, yeah.
You have.
Yeah, Dr. P. Jesus is up in this pig, and we have a few more questions for the guy from our wondrous listening audience. 651-989-9393 is how you can reach us via a text message. Dr. P, I'm not sure what to make of this. I'm a 22-year-old male. I've been working out for years, and I want to pursue enhanced bodybuilding, in parentheses, steroids and stuff. What steps should be taken to do this the right way?
Call your brother.
I eat and train right. I have done blood work in the past, but not recently. Is this individual asking you how to safely take steroids? I'm not sure what to make of this.
That is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
It appears that way.
I will admit I am not familiar with any safe way to do that. I mean, it's not. I would say it is not. It's certainly not a standard treatment in allopathic Western medicine, which is what I practice.
Dude, that was impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, it's. there's all sorts of reasons not to do that. But I guess if you're committed to becoming an enhanced. I mean, they always use steroids in enhanced bodybuilding.
I've never heard that said out loud before. Enhanced bodybuilding.
Like, are they allowed to? Anyway,
you've heard of that, Josh?
No, I'm just assuming he means drug enhanced.
Yeah.
Okay.
Versus just.
I think. So my advice would be don't do that.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do that, I guess try to seek out somebody who knows what they're doing so that you can do it sort of safely. But I mean, it just. Yeah,
that's kind of frightening.
It is.
Don't hurt yourself, dude. You're 22 years old. You're a young kid, man.
Yeah,
I'd have second thoughts if I were you.
I think it really can send you and your body down a pretty bad path.
Well, I can tell you, my father-in-law, he passed away before I knew him. He was only 45 when he died, and they said that was partly related. He used steroids since he was a teenager, and it tore him apart.
No, it does. I mean, it's. Again, I mentioned prednisone before, which people with ulcerative colitis can end up on or used to before all these new medicines. It's a catabolic catabolic instead of anabolic, so it doesn't build up your muscles, but it also has tremendous side effects. And yeah, I mean, steroids, they may build muscle, but they do accelerate heart disease and I think deterioration of your whole body. I mean, it's sort of
F
a
that.
shooting star gonna burn bright and
right.
Fade fast.
Don't do that, kid.
Yeah. I mean, did Arnold Schwarzenegger do steroids?
Well, they say HGH, they claim, both he and
I'm
Sylvester
sure he was
Stallone.
sprinkling that on his
I'm sure it was everything.
On his Cocoa Puffs.
I would think there's no way to be like that. So.
Oh, God.
Another gym-related question from Vacation Jesus. What can I take instead of ibuprofen every day for inflammation? I'm fit in my early 30s. I've been taking it every day for about 5 years.
Anacin.
I mean,
steroids?
That's yeah, right. Let's connect the last two people. I mean, I guess I'm wondering what he's thinking he needs it for. If he said he's healthy.
Inflammation, he said.
Oh, I mean, what's he talking about there?
Oh.
I mean, I'm not sure what he's perceiving as inflammation. Like, truly, does he have swelling of joints and things like that? I mean, if you have true swelling and heat of multiple joints, you could have rheumatoid arthritis or something odd going on. If it's just sort of aches and pains related to working out, it's not necessarily inflammation. A non-ibuprofen alternative for pain is Tylenol. It's not an anti-inflammatory, but it helps with, minor aches and pains just as well as ibuprofen. So I guess it would require a conversation. Like, what makes you think you're having inflammation?
Okay. You ever heard of GERD?
I mean, that's gastroesophageal reflux disease.
Oh, we already covered that. Someone texted in and said, I have GERD.
A lot of people in my family have that.
Okay, so we talked about that already.
Yeah, over-the-counter medicines to try to take care of it. If it's persisting or worsening, then go talk to your physician.
So you would say, Ashley, you and members of your family would say that GERD is not the word.
It is not.
No.
That is not the word, dude. Not at all.
Here's a person with ears that have been ringing for a few days. They have bad allergies. They don't know if that's related or not. Just throwing it in there. Any relief? Is it tinnitus? What do you pronounce that?
I've always said tinnitus. But
tinnitus, sorry. They say they've never had that before.
I would suggest not getting it. It's not fun.
Yeah. It's possible, I guess, that allergies could do it. I mean, people will start to have allergies this time of year when snow is melting. There's mold under the snow. So taking some over-the-counter medications, Allegra, that kind of stuff, which are non-sedating antihistamines, is probably the simplest thing to do. It's hopefully something that will be resolved quickly. I mean, if you have a little bit of fluid basically in your eustachian tubes, that can cause a little bit of pressure in the middle ear, which could give you some sense of that. But truly, tinnitus is because of problems deeper in the auditory system. So it's usually related to noise exposure.
That mold under the snow.
The mold under the snow is definitely something that I think a lot of people react to.
Anyone taken the dog for a walk lately?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had the dog out for a walk yesterday, and once we got her back in the house, she smelled like she had been chained to an unfinished basement floor
it's just sort of,
for the last 5 years.
It's a raw, rank smell.
Yes, it is.
I should follow up with the concussion question. oops, where was it?
The question about falling asleep?
Yeah, well, that too.
Okay.
Basically, that's sort of myth. I mean, it's not, you can sleep, and it's really just that people can't assess you when you're asleep. So having someone around to check on you, make sure you're breathing, is a good idea. But you can sleep. And Liam Neeson's wife, Natasha Richardson, did have an epidural hematoma. Or sorry, subdural hematoma.
Hit her head.
Wait, epidural? Subdural?
We don't know the difference. Epidural, subdural?
Subdural. I thought it was subdural hematoma. But so basically she had a little bit of delayed bleeding around the brain, caused pressure, and that is something that can happen. And it can happen a couple days later, I believe. So that's the thing. If you have a concussion, there's sort of the symptoms you worry about immediately that require evaluation potentially, but over the next couple days, you do want someone checking on you regularly.
I don't like it at all.
What? The
I'm gonna
idea
go
of,
crazy, dude.
Of hitting your head, walking around for 2 days, and then you die?
No, Josh.
What? What about Josh?
Stop.
What?
Could you guys really not hear that?
No.
I could hear
Really?
it.
I heard all 3 times.
Oh,
The
you should have
first
been able
time-
to hear that for sure.
First time, I thought I was going crazy.
I just did it for a second, just so people go, huh.
Do it again. Oh, I heard that.
I literally don't.
You don't? You got to get your ears checked.
Dude, go to a doctor.
Yeah.
There was a high-pitched noise like we all had tinnitus.
Yeah, that's 10,000 hertz. You should be able to hear that.
One more time.
Here we go. Hold on.
I really don't.
Are you serious?
I think these headphones are actually a little funky.
Fascinating.
Oh, surprising.
I sound different to myself.
I hope I
than
didn't make
normally
any
do.
dogs bark.
Wow. Maybe it's the headphones, or maybe you've got...
You want to try mine? Well, actually, you know what? Forget it. People are probably don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I was wondering why you were writhing in your chair over there.
Yeah, I
Ashley.
can't
I
do
didn't
that.
notice it at first.
I mean, maybe I need to get my hearing checked.
I guess so.
You definitely should have heard that.
Oh.
Dr. P, thank you very much.
What?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Thank you very much for always being helpful with our listening audience, and we'll see you in a couple
you're
weeks.
too kind. Thank you.
Yeah, great to see you, buddy.
The 93X Half-Assed Morning Show.
Well, if it isn't our wonderful podcast listener, the ones that all of us on hams love the most. Dana here to give you a little gentle reminder to hit up our friends at Standard Heating and Air Conditioning and tune up that AC before it fully turns into crotch soup season. June through August are Standard's busy season for getting AC units up to snuff, so get ahead of the curve and have them ensure you don't have a summer where you pit out every shirt you own. Book in May during their pre-summer heat savings event, and you'll beat the rush and save yourself some walking around money. Call Standard Heating today or visit standardheating.com. Enjoy the show. We sincerely appreciate you checking us out each and every day.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or skins, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skins uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
Idly ho, neighborinos.
93X
Half-Assed Morning Show.
We live in a day and age where we would rather sidearm wet feces at each other to settle disputes as opposed to having a face-to-face conversation like a grown adult. It's a damn shame. Damn shame. We operate that way. In a place called Summit County, Colorado, a lady called the cops to report that an unknown man has been throwing bags full of dog doo-doo pies into her yard and onto her driveway.
It's unpleasant.
Throwing bags full of dogs into her yard, onto her driveway. She said this has been going on, skis, what did she say, for the past month. So the cops figured they'd ask around the neighborhood to see if anyone knew who the low-life prick with the turd bags might be. While talking to folks, quite a few of the lady's neighbors told the police that the lady, the target of all the flying feces bags, is notorious in the neighborhood for failing to pick up her own dog's turd piles. Apparently, when she walks her dog around town, she doesn't do a damn thing when it drops a warm one onto her neighbor's yards. And one person interviewed by the cops said that he heard there was one guy in the hood who was, quote, on a crusade against those who do not pick up after they dogs.
A noble crusade.
Says here, the investigation into the situation is ongoing, but the cops let the lady know that she is likely being targeted due to not picking up after her dog. At least one guy has dedicated his free time to launching poo bags onto her property.
I would hate to be known as that woman in the neighborhood.
She calls the cops, and in the end, it kind of comes full circle to where they told her, look, lady, I mean, this ain't right what's being done to you, but it's a revenge story. I find it very interesting that people come uncorked over dog turds the way they do. Growing up, at least in my neighborhood, nobody cared where dogs took a deuce. We never cared if a dog came into our yard and dropped one. That's just what dogs do. Now people will swing machetes at each other over a turd dropped on their lawn. I personally don't understand.
I remember my mom slightly complaining about it when I was younger, but not to this degree. Like, it was always, if it was somebody that did it repetitively, like it was always our yard, then she would point it out, like, oh, there goes their dog again. But she would never go out there and yell at them or call somebody about it.
It's one of the top beefs, it seems to me at least. This is really important to people.
I'll go the other way on this. See, I think you don't want a turd where a turd should not be. Like, if you're at the dog park and there's a stray turd, okay, fine, that's what happens. But, like, if you're on the sidewalk and there's a stray turd, that's a problem. If you're not picking up after your dog and they're in someone else's yard, that's a turd where a turd should not be.
What if you forget a bag?
Who forgets a bag when they're walking the dog?
I always do.
But there was no such thing as a bag back in the day. I never cared. We never cared.
We invented these things called bags to pick up the turds.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is, why did it become such a problem?
Have you ever stepped in one?
Yeah, sure I did.
Sucks.
Our house is a prime target. We're right in the middle of the block, so seems like dogs, they get halfway down and think, oh, this is where we're going to go. And people pick it up. But if there were, for the amount of dogs in our neighborhood and the amount of times it gets pooped in our yard, that would get kind of frustrating if it was every single day and nobody's picking it up.
And your kid plays out in your yard, too, so I could see that being not ideal.
All right, well, all I'm saying is if you guys are in my neighborhood with your dog and your dog needs to take a deuce, put the peckerhead in my front yard. I do not care.
You'll never know because I'll have a bag.
You don't have to use the bag. Leave the bags at home.
The last time
dogs run into our yard all the time as kids and drop a coiler, and it never cared.
The last time I took my dog for a walk, I completely forgot a bag until he was in the process of trying to find a spot. And I ended up finding, like, some type of grass that wasn't anybody's front lawn. And I kind of, like, tucked behind a bush for him. And then after he did his business, we ran because I didn't want to get yelled at.
You'd know if you're not popular in the neighborhood if there was a bunch of poop in your yard and it was already bagged up. They just say, F this guy. We're going to throw this bag poop on his yard.
Here's a text from Faribault CPA Jesus. If Nick had dogs crapping in his yard on a daily basis, he'd quickly have an issue with it. No, I would not, dude. I would not. I do not care if a dog dumps in my yard. I do not care if it happens every day.
I will say I do believe you when you say that.
Yeah,
I don't think you
I don't care. I'll go out and pick it up. That's what dogs do. They take a dump on the lawn. So what?
Now,
who cares,
Josh,
who cares if it's not your dog?
Josh has very large dogs, right?
I do, yeah.
Like they, imagine they leave pretty large piles behind.
I would assume there's a man in our neighborhood with a drinking problem or something. If your dogs were duking in my yard, because
we get that. Yeah, I clean it up every day. If I don't, we got 2 of them. They go a couple times a day. It's ridiculous. If you go a few days, it's out of control. It's embarrassing.
That sucks. We have 3 dogs, and we only have to go out there once a week.
What if a person pooped in my yard every day? Someone wants to know. That would be different because that's not what people do. People use toilets. Dogs use yards.
See, that's a turd where a turd should not be.
You are right. If a guy is pulling his drawers down and cutting a cigar in my yard every day, then I have a problem because you're right. That's a turd where a turd should not be. Here's a listener saying, when I was younger, my mom got so mad at a guy in the neighborhood that let his dog crap in our yard that she would scoop it up with a shovel and chase him down the street with it.
I think it's reasonable to be frustrated with that. If somebody's dog's pooping in your yard every day.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not going to bag it
Go
up
ahead.
and throw it on their lawn or anything, but if they walk by, I might just say, hey, is there any way you could get a bag? Can I buy you some bags or something?
I get it. I'm just saying it doesn't bother me. That's all.
There's some people wanting to know your address because their dog's got to go.
Yeah. Come on by.
Half-assed morning show.
They are in an alternate reality than ours. They are in that rock and roll rock reality.
They surround themselves with these professional dickheads.
And I'm not even really sure if they're aware, you know?
I don't think they're aware of how much they suck.
93X rocks.
Scientific research plays a decent role around here, doesn't it, Josh? We cover a lot of results from scientific studies.
Even though you guys don't really believe them ever because you don't believe in scientists.
Scientists? Are you kidding me?
There's no such thing as scientists.
You know how I approach them every time, Josh? I say, well, Mr. Scientist, go ahead and give me the results of this study. I'm always very sarcastic with them. There's some effed up things that those folks take the time to look into. It's part of what makes it fun when discussing it on a radio show. I mean, bizarre sexual stuff and on from there. Don't get me wrong. Science has given us life-saving medicine. Oh, Cubby, space travel and other wonderful things. But it's also had some effed up ideas that could have killed us all. Killed us all dead. What I have here in front of me, some of the weirdest, wildest, and most unhinged experiments conducted in the name of research. Some of this stuff goes way back. Way back. Some of it not so far back. And it's kind of frightening that these ideas were actually put into motion.
I'd imagine a lot of these ideas are probably still happening in remote parts of the world, you know, to get away from laws we have here in the U.S., don't you think?
Dude.
Experimenting with some of this stuff.
I never considered that.
That's only from spy novels I read. But it seems believable.
I never considered that.
That it's probably still going on.
I don't want to know.
Creating super soldiers and things like that.
I don't want to know. Well, you know, speaking of experiments, what are you doing this weekend? I'm kidding. Josh, didn't you once consider sitting down for some kind of, like eating a brownie or something and seeing the results? Wasn't there, is this the liquor talking?
I mean, I was offered to be part of the medical marijuana study for epilepsy.
Oh.
Is that what you're thinking about?
That must be. I'm looking over at you and I'm thinking I thought you had a story.
I did a drinking experiment.
You did it drinking.
Just like you did on air, I did it off air with the police.
That might be what I was thinking.
But maybe you're thinking of my wife when my older kids were babies. She would donate their used diapers for whatever reason.
And she was paid for that?
I think she got free diapers out of the deal.
Oh, that's really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, Ashley, you should talk to her about it. They still do it as far as I know.
Free diapers in exchange for dirty ones that your kids make.
That you're going to throw out anyway.
And you're going to throw, and the scientists can sniff them and do whatever the hell they do.
I don't know if it was like the diaper company testing absorbency or what. If she's listening, maybe she could text me, but I can't remember why. But she did that for a while.
Testing absorbency, right.
It could be, yeah.
When I was extra poor, I thought about being a part of some of those drug trials they do where you're completely fine, but they have you take a depression medication or whatever it is for a couple of months to see what the true side effects are.
You said this was when you were really poor?
Really poor. Now I'm just kind of poor.
They offer, yeah, we're all kind of. They offered you a few bucks in exchange. What, did you read about it on the internet?
Yeah, I saw it in a couple TV shows, and I thought, I wonder, what there really is to that. And then I got too scared. It seems way too risky.
Josh, do you remember? Okay, so you turned down the opportunity to be part of this marijuana versus epilepsy deal.
Yeah.
Where they're going to have you just sit around taking big fat marijuana pills, smoking.
I never got further than they asked if I'd be interested, and I just said I really appreciate the offer, but
a big old blunt.
I have no idea. I'm going to guess no.
Probably not.
I'm going to guess it was pills of some sort, but I don't know.
You have a 6-foot bong. That's the only thing you're allowed to use.
And the drinking experiment, right? I remember you telling us about that. Okay. I mean,
that one was at a bar.
Yeah.
With a police department.
Right. Not a live radio thing.
I learned a lot. I just thought I was going to go for the heck of it. I totally thought I was fine to drive when I was not, according to the breathalyzer. I easily would have driven home feeling like I did.
Yeah. All of this stuff we're discussing, these personal things that Josh considered and Ashley considered, I've never had it cross my mind, but this is all on a much smaller scale than what is mentioned in this write-up on the weirdest, wildest, most unhinged experiments conducted in the name of research. Let's start in the 1920s. Tell me if you've ever heard of the Human Z experiment.
Yes.
You had?
No.
Yeah, where they...
Spy novel?
No. They tried to inseminate chimpanzees with gentleman's seed.
I don't like that.
He's friggin' right. That's insane. That's horror movie stuff, man.
Would you be terrified if it worked? I obviously they would prefer if it worked, but I wouldn't want to see that work out.
But we do it the old-fashioned way, don't we?
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, that's the only way to get it done. You got to do it the old-fashioned way with the chimpanzee. Soviet biologist. Soviet? I suppose back then they were the Soviets, were they not, in the 1920s? Okay.
Correct.
My political skills are limited. A biologist by the name of Ilya Ivanov attempted to create a human-chimpanzee hybrid, which he called a humanzee.
You know, our old coworker Ross was kind of a human-chimpanzee hybrid.
Yeah, I think more orangutan.
Orangutan would work
because
too.
of his buffoonish size. But sure, he looked half primate.
All right, my wife has texted me for their diapers. It was absorbency. They were testing how well they did, and I guess she got paid a little bit too.
Nice.
Not only did she get free diapers, but a couple of bucks out of the deal.
By the way, we're not kidding if you don't know about our late coworker Ross. He was a tall dude. You should have seen the size of the casket they put him in when he died.
He didn't die.
So back to the human-Z idea from the 1920s. This damn Russian, whatever you want to call him, Soviet biologist inseminated female chimps with human sperm.
Yuck.
None of them became pregnant. So after deciding that his original idea wasn't horrifying enough, he then planned to use ape sperm on female human volunteers.
No.
For whatever reason, that seems like it would be worse. The product would be scarier.
Dude, I don't know. I'm sure you're right. He ran into a snag, though, when he was looking to take monkey spuzz and use it on a female human. His last, I guess he had an orangutan in a cage somewhere. His last orangutan sperm giver died. And then, okay, he's thinking, well, this puts up a roadblock. Shortly thereafter, it sounds like somebody found out what he was up to, and they threw him out of Russia.
That's good.
They sent him to Kazakhstan, where, of course, Borat came from. All right. There was a guy who killed himself to prove that there is an afterlife. Again, in the 20s. He was a spiritualist named Thomas something or another. He was insistent that he could send messages from beyond the grave. But he's got to test this theory, right? So he made a pact with some woman. He sat in his apartment, he turned on the gas, and he died. And then days later, the woman claimed she did receive a message from him.
No, she didn't.
No, she didn't.
She didn't? Not at all.
Not once.
Nope.
Apparently, Harry Houdini had this same pact with his wife. Okay, Harry Houdini, the famous magician.
Yep.
They had a secret code word that he told her, look, after I die, I'm going to use this code word on you during a seance.
Well, aren't you dead if you're contacted via a seance?
You are dead.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't want to prove that he was immortal. He just wanted to prove that after he died, he could communicate with people.
They must be a little goofy if somebody goes along with this.
Well, yeah. So his wife held numerous seances after he died. And she said he appeared, but he never used the code word. Okay, whatever.
Then no.
Isaac Newton, what was his deal again? Gravity?
He's the gravity guy.
Okay, he wasn't just obsessed with gravity, he also wanted to understand vision. As we're rolling through the most unhinged, disgusting science experiments ever conducted. He was obsessed with understanding how the eyes work. It's always the eyes. He's got a doll's eyes, like lifeless eyes. What movie? Jaws. He was obsessed with eyes, so he stuck a blunt needle into his eye socket and pressed on his eyeball and noted how it changed his perception of light and color.
Buddy.
Yeah, that's what he did. He also would stare at the sun for extended periods of time, nearly blinding himself.
Yeah, me and him aren't very cool. He's responsible for calculus.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So you invented calculus?
Yeah.
The two of you could never be friends?
Nope.
Because of...
I never made it to calculus. We didn't go that high.
Oh, it was awful. I took it in college. It was terrible. Terrible.
Are you kidding me? I don't think I ever heard the word until I was in my mid-20s, for God's sake. Good for you. Good for you for even...
I had to.
Taking a chance. The next experiment was called the Mouse Utopia experiment. This was a scientist by the name of John Calhoun. This isn't all that long ago. Between 1968 and 1972, this guy conducted the Mouse Utopia experiment. He built a mouse living area with unlimited food, water, and nesting materials. This is according to this dude, John Calhoun. He said at first the population boomed, but as space got tighter, mouse society collapsed. Mice became violent. Mothers stopped caring for their young, and a group that he called the beautiful ones emerged.
I remember learning about this.
They were passive, antisocial mice that did nothing but eat and groom themselves and stare blankly into the void. You learned about this?
Yep.
He believed, this Calhoun, was the experiment. The way I should have said that is he believed the experiment was a warning about social breakdown in overcrowded societies. But some argued it said more about just putting too many mice in a box and expecting them to start a functional democracy. You read about this in school?
Yeah.
Overpopulation, and they brought this up, that kind of thing?
Yeah, yep. That always freaked me out whenever that topic would come up.
Well, it's the first I've heard of it.
There's just too many people.
We obviously we took different classes back in school. We took different classes. There was a Romanian scientist with the last name Minovici. He wasn't satisfied with just studying hanging. He wanted to experience it himself.
Oh, I know where this is going.
You think so?
Yeah.
Do you think that...
He's under the guise of science, autoerotic asphyxiation.
Oh, that's where you think. He hanged himself with a non-tightening rope 6 times, and I guess that didn't satisfy his curiosity. He upgraded to a real noose and tried that 12 times.
Dang. That's he's gotten pretty lucky then.
Eventually, there's like a joke here at the end of this portion of the article. But I believe what they mean is that he ended up killing himself while trying to study hanging. He suffered terrible damage to his neck. But here's the joke. It says here, on the bright side, he became the only scientist to write a study and his own obituary at the same time. Does that joke lead me to believe that he ended up killing himself?
No, there was like something that attacked his vocal cords. Maybe it was related, but he didn't. It wasn't like the rope attacking it and asphyxiating him.
So he didn't kill himself by hanging?
Not by hanging, I don't think.
But it destroyed his vocal cords. Okay.
I think that's the same guy that did tried to correlate tattooing and bad behavior. He did a scientific study on
this same guy?
I think that's the same guy.
What did he? Well, I neglected to mention this guy apparently did the self-hanging experiments in the year 1904. So you think it's the same guy who?
I think that's the same guy. Yeah.
Minovici. We got a few more things to cover here in our conversation on the most completely effed up scientific experiments ever conducted in the history of man, effing kind. Thomas Dolby. Some of this stuff is just ridiculous. What nut job comes up with ideas like this? So far, we've covered the Human Z experiment, where a biologist was going to create a human-chimpanzee hybrid by inseminating female chimps with human sperm. We got a guy who killed himself to prove that the afterlife existed. Isaac Newton stuck a needle in his eye to better understand vision. The mouse utopia experiment, where they fired a bunch of mice into a cage and they all killed each other. And a dude who hung himself over and over again because he wanted to understand it better. Now, what's funny is, I got one text message from a listener who says, come on, these scientists were just trying to get laid. Very well could be true. But another message came in that said, Antoine Laurent, or some damn thing, did an experiment where he got beheaded because he wanted to see how many times he could blink. Now, that very well could be true, but what I have in front of me from this report is a little different. A French doctor by the name of Gabriel Barrault, or something along those lines, wanted to determine if a severed head remained conscious after execution. They called this the facial expressions of the guillotined experiment from 1905. We've probably all heard once or twice, right? When you cut somebody's head off, they remain alert for a certain amount of time. You've heard that, right?
Yeah, It takes a couple seconds.
Okay. That's what this guy was looking into in 1905. He would hang around the guillotine neighborhood and watch victims and their facial expressions. My God, what a morbid gig. And he said in one particular situation, a guy was getting guillotined by the name of Languille. That was his name, the guy who was getting his head chopped smooth off. He watches the guy's head come off. He said, the face relaxed a little bit, his eyelids half closed. And then the scientist, I guess, the doctor, Barreau, hollered the guy's name as loud as he could. Languille! And he said the dude's eyelids picked up a little bit. This is what he researched.
Well, I don't know. Seems like it would just be muscle spasms and whatnot, but maybe.
It says here the scientific community remains skeptical about post-decapitation consciousness. It's unclear at this moment. But, yeah, I've heard things like... One of the freakiest things I ever saw was when we were kids. We captured a massive snapping turtle up north and brought it back to the cabin. We were like 6th grade kids. We found this massive snapping turtle on the road and brought it back to the cabin, tied it up and whatnot. Brought it back to the cabin just to show our dads, hey, look what we caught. Well, little did we know, our dad said, well, yeah, let's cook it. They enjoyed eating snapping turtle. So someone cut the head off the damn thing, and then you nail it to a tree to bleed it out. This is what I was shown as a 6th grade kid before you cook a turtle. And I was totally unaware at how it would remain snapping at you. The head is completely severed for hours and hours and hours. If you put a stick in front of its mouth, it would try to snap it.
That's crazy.
If you touched the feet, and we had it nailed up to a tree by the tail so it would bleed out. If you touched the feet of the turtle, it would try to move. Hours after the head was cut off. That freaked me out. All right, next experiment. What did you think about this, Josh? Back in 1962, they went ahead with the elephants on LSD experiment.
Seems pretty dangerous. I don't want a drugged up elephant.
1962. This is something that should have been. This sounds more like 1862 than 1962.
Although, like, when was LSD big? Wasn't it kind of around that time?
I suppose maybe there was no such thing as. I don't know. I'm not a. Yeah, late 60s, I suppose.
So maybe that was kind of it. Like, hey, all these people doing LSD, we should see what happens to an elephant.
That's got to be it. Scientists decided to inject an elephant named Tusco, very unoriginal name, for starters. Let's be critical of that name. Scientists decided to inject an elephant named Tusco with 3,000 times a regular human dose of LSD, whatever that is. 3,000 times the human dose of LSD to see if it would trigger a state of extreme aggression. Instead, Tusco, the poor elephant, collapsed and died within minutes.
That's so terrible.
So I guess what they learned is overdosing a massive animal on psychedelics is exactly as bad an idea as it sounds. One more final. The 21 grams experiment took place in 1907. A doctor believed that the soul had weight. Literally. He weighed dying patients before and after death and claimed that they lost exactly 21 grams at the moment of passing. And his conclusion was that this was the weight of the soul leaving the body. To further test the theory, he weighed dying dogs who showed no weight change. So his conclusion was, humans have souls, but dogs apparently don't.
Yeah, right. That would be the opposite.
Jesus, these people are frightening.
Would you allow yourself to be weighed pre and post-death just to see if your soul weighs at least 20?
I don't know. I suppose if they give my family a few bucks, what do I care what they do on the way out?
Exactly.
Right? But are they going to probe me to find my soul first or anything terrible like that?
21 grants? Is that what you said?
21 grams.
21 grams.
Yes, that's right.
The 93X Half-Assed Morning Show.
Well, if it isn't our wonderful podcast listener, the ones that all of us on hams love the most. Dana here to give you a little gentle reminder to hit up our friends at Standard Heating and Air Conditioning and tune up that AC before it fully turns into crotch soup season. June through August are Standard's busy season for getting AC units up to snuff, so get ahead of the curve and have them ensure you don't have a summer where you pit out every shirt you own. Book in May during their pre-summer heat savings event, and you'll beat the rush and save yourself some walking around money. Call Standard Heating today or visit standardheating.com. Enjoy the show. We sincerely appreciate you checking us out each and every day.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or skins, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skins uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes, it's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
The 93X Half-Assed Morning Show.
Who have you waited in line for to get their autograph or maybe a picture? Is that as common as it used to be? Probably not, because now folks can just go online and become followers or online friends with famous people.
Well, I think it still happens quite a bit.
Yeah, with the Comic-Cons and stuff?
Yeah, Mall of America certainly has a lot of events. Joe Satriani, for me, I waited, a guitar player, legendary guitar player, if you're not familiar. I waited, I think, 2 hours to meet Joe Satriani, and it was worth every minute just to spend 30 seconds with the guy.
Text in if you've waited in line to meet a, quote, famous person, unquote, and get their autograph. Who
Twins
was it?
Fest?
Who was it you were waiting on? I'm sorry?
Twins Fest. Been to plenty of Twins Fest.
And you waited in line for autographs?
Yeah, I mean, mostly with my kids. But,
young people?
Yeah.
Joe Satriani. Yeah, I mean, I suppose I had forgotten about things like Comic-Con. Sure, that's a big thing. Folks will wait all day long to meet the dude who played Jason in Friday the 13th and things like that.
You know why I think it's not top of mind for you? Because a lot of the folks now are like influencers and stuff like that.
Oh.
I know at the mall, there was one day it was packed, absolutely packed at the Rotunda. And there was a woman there, or a young lady who they had her picture up, everything. Hey, she's going to be here at this time. It was packed. There was people circling all the floors just to look down at this person. And I had to ask my kids who this was, and it was some like TikTok star or Instagram star or something like that I've never heard of.
I wonder who it was.
We would do it as kids. The ones that I remember, and I'm sure there are some that I forgot. Not that it was a regular thing for us, but in the 80s, I think there was always someone at a record shop or at the mall giving out autographs. The ones I remember, 80s rock band Britney Fox. We've spent time reminiscing about that act.
Really? You waited in line to meet them somewhere?
Yeah.
I'm not disrespecting them. I'm just surprised to hear that.
They made an appearance at a record shop, I think, when their album hit it big. I was an 11th grader at the time when their album hit it big. And yes, Josh, I waited in that line, long line of maybe 11 people. Really, when we went over, this was also at Ridgedale, if I'm not mistaken. When I was an 11th grade kid, Britney Fox's album was selling quite well. So they made an appearance at the local record shop at Ridgedale. And I remember when we walked into the mall thinking, it would be like what I see on music videos, where just there was maybe 10 or 11 people. And so they were desperate to, I guess, kill the boredom, because not only did they sign anything we wanted them to sign, but they wanted to talk and talk and talk, just because they knew, Christ, we're stuck here for 4 hours and nobody showed up. So they're suddenly asking us questions about us, and I was a little thrown by that. You guys are big shots. You're big rock stars. What are you asking me about me for? Well, now I get it. They were just trying to make the time go by. Kiss, I waited in line to meet Kiss more than once. And then the other one that I can remember that I've told you guys about, maybe when I was about a 7th grader, I waited in line at Wayzata Boat Works to meet Hulk Hogan, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and Mean Gene Okerlund.
That's cool.
Those are the ones I can remember. A lot of texts coming in.
My all-time favorite that I waited in line for were the band members of A Day to Remember, who have a new album out, by the way. It's really good. But I was really sad because their lead singer wasn't there, Jeremy McKinnon. I was so pumped to meet him, and then I got up there and I was like, wait a minute. Where's the main guy?
Sometimes, and you've learned now that that's how it works.
Oh, I've had that happen a couple times.
8 times out of 10.
And it's the worst when it's like back, like when we were at the Edge. We used to do a lot more of that kind of thing. Artists were more willing to do it. It seemed like, kind of to your point, Nick. And I had been a part of the, with the radio station, helping people kind of go meet them. And there was a couple times, big bands. Nobody but the one person, nobody really knew who it was, would show up from the band. And it was very disappointing to people. That was pretty terrible.
Yeah, come on and meet
Metallica.
Well, we mean Jason and Kirk.
Right.
We mean Robert.
Not even Kirk, maybe.
Right, not even Kirk. Bon Jovi is here. Well, we mean David Bryan and Tico Torres and Alec Von Such. And,
I almost got killed at one of those meet and greets, and this was at a home and garden show.
That's not a place you want to die.
I know. And I look over, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, that's Christopher Knight, Peter Brady, from the Brady Bunch.
Sure.
And I almost felt bad for the guy because there's no one there, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, Peter Brady, that's awesome.
I'd spend all day talking to him, if he would let me.
Exactly. So I'm walking down this aisle, and he's straight in front of me just across the way, like basically across the intersection. So I go up, and I was like, oh, my gosh, Christopher Knight, and I could barely get out a sentence, and some guy comes and grabs me, like furious. I didn't realize there was a line on the other side where I couldn't see it. And the line was huge. I mean, people were for sure waiting an hour to meet Peter Brady.
So for a second there, Peter Brady and
I had free reign.
And his security team thought you might have been a madman who was...
They thought I was like a major a-hole. But from where I was, I mean, even my wife didn't see it. She's more observant than me.
Didn't notice.
No, it was the line was huge, and I missed it.
Sir.
I honestly thought... Everyone listening, I thought your aunt and mom, who I'd imagine were there, just like my mom and aunt probably were going to kill me right there at the Home and Garden Show, and that's no place to die.
Wow, these are really interesting questions here. Questions isn't the word. These are really interesting answers that are being texted in by our listening audience. Answers to the question, who have you waited in line to meet, get an autograph with, get a picture with? Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt.
That's really awesome. Sweet.
Ric Flair. Shaquille O'Neal. Alice Cooper. Johnny Depp. Mark Hamill. Sam Elliott. Dang.
Yeah, there's plenty of athletes coming in. One that, an oddball one here, not the person, but just one I wouldn't expect. Dweezil Zappa.
Wow.
Frank Zappa's kid, who is an incredible guitar player. Very well respected.
Dweezil Zappa.
I haven't thought about Dweezil Zappa in a long time.
If you want to hear his work, I believe he plays all the guitar parts on actor Don Johnson's first solo record.
He's done a lot of that kind of thing.
Back in 1985. What was Don Johnson's hit single? Do you guys even know who I'm talking about when I say Don Johnson?
Miami Vice?
Miami Vice, Don Johnson. You'd know him if you saw him, Ashley, because he's still active. But he was so popular when Miami Vice hit it big that they said, make a record, even if you can't sing. It'll make everyone in the building $10 million. Was it Heartbeat? I can
Heartbeat.
feel your heartbeat.
Yep.
And Dweezil Zappa played all the guitar. Here's a listener who waited in line to meet David Lee Roth at the Mirage.
Awesome.
I believe I was at that show. Get back to me. Was that when he wore nothing but bib overalls at the show and did no less than 75 bicycle kicks while he sang Just a Gigolo? Get back to me, because I'm fairly sure I was at that show around 1995.
My senior year of high school, I think, I waited in line to meet Dream Theater, very talented band.
Dream Theater.
They were great. Okay, you didn't wait in line to meet my mom.
No, but
a lot of texts in that. And they're saying some foul things they did when they met her. That is not what happened. 2 hours to meet Gary Sinise. That'd be cool.
Gary Sinise.
Somebody said they met.
I can picture him. Was he Captain Dan in the Forrest Gump trilogy?
Nailed it.
Horrible movie. Yeah, what did you say?
Somebody said they only had to wait half hour to meet Shaq. That surprises me.
Wow.
I would have thought that would have been quite a bit more than that.
Hayden Christensen from the Star Wars movies.
He was just in town for the last Twin Cities Con, and yeah, that was very popular.
Steve-O from the Butt Gang.
Jackass.
What were they called again? Jackass.
I'd wait in line to meet Steve-O.
Wow, these are really interesting. I love this kind of stuff. Kane from the WWE. And on from there. Cal Ripken Jr.
Oh, yeah.
Gary Sinise. What was the situation? Did they give the background on what he was doing? And maybe he had his own whiskey, maybe?
He does a lot of charity events for wounded soldiers.
Yeah, he's very passionate about. That was my guess. It was going to be part of his foundation, the Gary Sinise Foundation.
He was a great bad guy in the Mel Gibson movie where Mel Gibson's son is abducted. And
Ransom?
Ransom.
That was a great movie.
Oh, he was evil.
Yeah.
Great bad guy. Great actor. Seems like a funny guy, too.
Oh, and he's got a heart of gold, it appears.
Guar. One of our listeners waited in line to meet Guar.
Cast of Super Troopers. That's Poop Pumpin' Jesus.
Oh, I remember meeting those guys.
A cool-looking dude.
Many years ago. I refer to them as the cast of Beer Fest. You can call them whatever you want. Bill Nye. Why does that name ring a bell?
Bill Nye, the science guy.
Oh, yeah. that would make my heart so full.
I think I was too old to get into him, because when people, your age, talk about Bill Nye, it's very positive.
Well, he's a legend for a company. His program was very entertaining. But I think the biggest draw to Bill Nye was that when we got to watch Bill Nye in elementary school, that was like a nice treat. And they wheeled that TV in, and they just threw on a couple episodes of Bill Nye the Science Guy because the teacher had nothing else planned. That was a beautiful feeling.
We always had a worksheet to go with it, so that was not a good feeling.
Oh, bummer. You don't want to learn things.
No.
I never saw the guy, but I've heard it said out loud before. The question, again, is to our listening audience, feel free to text us, 651-989-9393. Who have you waited in line to meet for an autograph or a picture? Wow, Walter Payton. Vanna White.
Oh, really?
Sweet.
Who still works on television, does she not?
She does. Oh, Nick, you'll appreciate
What is she doing on TV?
On that show, whatever.
Fortune.
Yeah, I thought she retired.
No, just say Jack.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So you're certain of that, Dana?
Yeah.
I'm fairly sure the television was on a few days ago, and it was on, what's the name of the show again?
Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever spent much time watching it.
Yeah, Ryan Seacrest is the host, and Vanna's still
She was still there, and she's in her 70s. Gotta be.
I waited in line and met former Minnesota Wild defenseman Brent Burns, but I was waiting at a Potbelly sandwich shop in Woodbury, and he just happened to be there. Oh. By the way, he was wearing his own shirt.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
Wait a minute. What do you mean he's wearing his own?
He was wearing his own. You know how you can get a
jersey?
Not a jersey. Is that what they call it? A jersey?
Jersey.
It's just a T-shirt.
No, he was not.
Yes, he was.
Are you sure that was him?
100%. Dude, he's not tough to miss. 100% sure.
Then that.
Maybe that's a way to get people to not think you are him.
I don't know.
Well, he had a coat on, but he showed me. He's like, hey, this is embarrassing. So he even admitted it.
I'm hoping he was coming from some type of team event or community event.
It could have been. It was it was the middle of the day. Very well could be.
Buddy of mine had a funny story about Brent Burns, a guy that used to work here. He was a promotions guy here years and years ago. He was at a bar after a Wild game, And Burns walks into this bar in St. Paul after a home game. And the crowd is all, ooh, right? And it's packed, and some bitches are 10 deep at the bar to get a drink. And Burns just butted in front of everybody and got his friggin' drink. And most folks are like, well, he is Brent Burns. Well, not this guy that used to work here. He's thinking, hey, dude, get in line with the rest of us, for Christ's sake. What, you're thirstier than the rest of us? So he was pissed. And Burnsy gets his drink, and he kind of stands in the corner, and everyone's coming over saying, hey, good game. Hey, Brent Burns, taking pictures and everything. And this former coworker, he was very patient, and he waited in that line as well to go. And he walks up and goes, dude, you're Brent Burns, right? And Burnsy goes, yeah, I am. And he goes, you suck. Wait in line like everybody else, for Christ's sake.
I don't think I'd come off that hot at an NHL player.
Oh, what's he going to do? Choke you to death at the bar in front of everybody?
I guess it's not 1980 anymore.
But he said that Burns was just shocked that he would come off like that. I was waiting all night for a friggin' drink, then you walked in. I had to wait a little longer. And he walked away. I love hearing these stories, man. I love hearing these names.
Nick, I waited in line at St. Cloud State my freshman year because
here we go.
Jim Craig was a guest speaker, and then stuck around, hung out afterwards, took pictures, and answered questions. Very, very nice guy.
Jimmy Craig.
Do you remember Pat Williams, part of the Vikings boat scandal?
I remember the guy.
When I lived in Eden Prairie, he cut in front of us at a Dairy Queen with about 30 other dudes that he was with.
That would make me so mad.
He was a line cutter?
Well, yeah, him and his whole group.
Who does he think he is? Brent Burns?
Pat
Burns? Leif Garrett. Wow, one of our listeners waited in line to meet Leif Garrett.
Oh, Henry Winkler.
Oh, that would be awesome.
And he said one of the nicest people I've ever met. Chicago Comic-Con. I'd imagine he sure comes across that way.
I would wait in line for close to 24 hours to meet Henry Winkler.
I've seen other actors talk about, asked who's the nicest celebrity you've ever met. Henry Winkler's name comes up quite a bit. Keanu Reeves, another one.
Let me tell you something. The world, you'll feel it. The world is going to stop spinning for a second or two when Henry Winkler goes down. You'll friggin' feel it. You'll feel it.
For people old enough to have watched Happy Days, Nick, did you ever try and use your elbow to turn on a jukebox or a light or something like Fonzie did?
Absolutely.
So did I.
Absolutely.
Hey. Oh, man, he was the best.
Can I hump your leg for 15 uninterrupted seconds?
The 93X Half-Assed Morning Show.
Josh, you're the brightest guy I know. I got a question for you. Did you know that if you were living in Australia, is that something you've ever dreamed about, living in Australia?
No.
Not even when you were a 5th, 6th grade kid and you watched Crocodile Dundee for the first time, you didn't dream of living in the outback?
No, I thought he was cool.
You did?
Yeah, very cool. But no, I did not have that dream. I'm an avid indoorsman.
Well, I know, but when you were a 5th or 6th grade kid.
It seemed kind of cool, but no, I've never felt any type of pull to leave the country.
You weren't a full-on indoorsman when you were a 5th or 6th grade kid. You're probably out on your bicycle all day.
Constantly.
Buying porn from the filthy kid down the neighborhood, smoking cigarettes in an alley. Cigarettes? No porn, no cigarettes.
No cigarettes.
But you did ride the bicycle around town. I'll tell you what. That movie came out the summer after my 8th grade year. Day 1 of 9th grade, there was a kid in my class, and he was a friend of mine, who showed up to the first day of school with his hair dyed blonde, wearing snakeskin boots, and talking in an Australian accent.
Oh, you love it.
He had fully committed himself, at least on day 1 of school, to let everybody know, I've got a decent Crocodile Dundee imitation in my repertoire now. He let go of the accent after day 1, but he kept the boots and the hairdo. All right. Let me get to what I was going to ask you about. Here's the deal. Did you know that if you lived in Australia, Josh, you could not legally name a child Dickhead?
I bet it's not exclusive to Australia, but I wasn't aware they specifically had that.
I suppose I didn't think about that.
That was my favorite name that I read.
Dickhead?
Yeah, I even pointed that one out to my family members. Oh, darn.
I would like to know the people that this rule got made because of. You know, they attempted to name their kid Dickhead, and then somebody said, you know what, we might need to put a law in place.
Yeah, talked about places where you can't name your kid Nazi or Hitler or something like that.
I suppose I didn't think about that. Australia probably isn't the only spot on planet Earth that has banned the name Dickhead from being permanently placed on innocent children. Here are all of the illegal baby names that have been officially banned in Australia. Interrupt me if there's one that you like and you want to argue for, okay?
Oh, I've got one I saw the list. I've got one for sure that I think should be a name that's okay to give your kid.
Oh, I'm excited. Oh, I bet I know what it is. Yeah, yep.
And Dana's probably right. A lot of these probably made the banned list, BANNED list, because some lunatic couple attempted to name their innocent child. Okay, here are all the illegal baby names that have been officially banned in Australia. Adolf Hitler, Bomb, Bonghead.
Some potheads.
Why would you do this to your kid?
Because people are insane.
Bonghead.
That's why. Because they're friggin' insane, and they look at their child as nothing more than a conversation piece for themselves.
It's their accessory, sure.
Yeah.
It's an accessory.
It's a way to show how creative they are.
God, poor kid.
You cannot name a child brother in Australia. Maybe they're more fans of Sting or Macho Man Randy. Not big Hulk Hogan fans in Australia. You cannot name a child brother. Cyanide. Dame. D-A-M-E. Maybe you
kind
need
of a weird one.
Maybe you need to be Australian to get what that means.
Oh,
maybe that's a derogatory term over there. I don't know.
Shoot.
Devil. What's happening over there?
I'm trying to remember. I've heard that in like old.
Well, there's
old,
Dame Judi Dench. I mean, that's not her first name. She was.
Yeah, it's like that kind of vibe. Yeah, it says it's a female equivalent of Sir.
Sure.
So I don't know why they're not. I don't know why they're not about that.
Yeah, it might be like slang for hussy over there or something.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's
yeah.
what I just said. Right. Maybe it's derogatory in Australia. We don't live there. We don't know.
Well, I think it is here, too. Some people take offense to that. You're like, what was the name of that dame? You know, yeah, I was out with a couple of dames last night. Have you heard anybody say something like that before?
I could see. Yeah, that makes sense.
Devil. Dickhead.
Do you think some of these have pronunciations? They're spelled that way, but they, get creative with the pronunciations. Like, no, that's DeVille, or
good
Daville.
question. Very good question. Very good. Yeah, people would try to skirt around the rules for that, right? Emperor.
Be kind of a cool name if you're cool enough to pull it off.
I would not think that to be a cool name if my name was Emperor.
No.
I've mentioned before my oldest, Cam, went to school with a kid that called himself King Money. And I don't know if anybody knew his real name outside of teachers, but King Money is what he went by. I bet you can't name your kid King Money.
Again, we continue on with the list of illegal baby names in Australia. Father. G-Bang. Like short for gangbang?
Gotta be
That's
right.
what I imagined.
Was a baby... Was there a parent who wanted to name their child Gangbang because it was the product of a gangbang?
That'd be special.
You got folks who name their children after the city they were conceived in.
Bryce Dallas Howard, middle name.
Bryce Dallas, or the month they were conceived in, or Okay, God. You cannot name your child God. However, we learned in 1984, didn't we, Josh, from the documentary Ghostbusters, that if anyone ever asks you if you are a god, you say yes. One of my favorite scenes when they're up on top of the building. What was her name? Gazul, the lady Gazul. Zool came out, and she asked Ray if he was a god.
She was hot in a scary way.
She was friggin' hot.
Josh, isn't there something in religion that says you shouldn't do that anyway?
Huh?
Meaning
kind of compare somebody to God.
Yeah, no false idols, all that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, there was a college, speaking of, last night's big college basketball final, there was a very popular and successful college basketball player many years ago by the name of God Shamgod. Now, I don't know if that was his birth name, but that's what they called him on television, God Shamgod.
But you're right, Ashley. You got to kind of stay away from those names. Just ask Shotgun Messiah Jesus or retired GVFD Jesus or Jackrabbit Jesus.
You also cannot name a child Goddess or Harry Potter or Jesus Christ or Majesty. Didn't Mike Jackson have a
Prince?
Or Jermaine Jackson have a kid named Prince?
Well,
what?
Yeah, Michael Jackson had Prince Michael Jackson, right?
Oh, right, but Jermaine Jackson, maybe Mike's brother, I thought he had someone look up Jermaine Jackson and his children's names. Now, they're ridiculous because he's a member of the Jackson family. Can you do that for me? Jermaine Jackson.
I knew a girl named Majesty.
Yeah,
her mom's name is Queenie, and she was Majesty.
Yeah, I know a girl named Majesty, too. I just looked it up on Facebook, and boom, right away.
Now, did they call her Madge for short?
Oh, I hope not.
Because
she was very little when I knew her. It was a neighbor, so they called. I mean, it seems like when you're littler, you get the full name, so they always called her Majesty.
If I'm not mistaken, I think when, like, say, my grandparents' generation, I can't think of what it was short for, but there were women wandering around planet Earth named Madge. Was it short for Margaret, maybe?
It could be.
Anyway.
I've heard that. I have an Aunt Margaret, so Marge or Madge. I've heard people say both.
Did anyone find the list of children that were sired by Jermaine Jackson from the Jackson 5?
Were you thinking of his son, Jer Majesty Jackson?
That's it, Jer Majesty.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, geez, Jesus brings up the people that named their daughter Khaleesi one season into Game of Thrones and then regretted it in season 8.
What did she
maybe
do?
you have to see the whole arc of the character to decide if
she became a bad person.
Nobody liked the way the show ended.
Well, I've mentioned it before. There was a stretch of time at the Boom Boom Room when that Game of Thrones first hit it big. And I used to go to the Boom Boom Room quite frequently back then. Rick's Cabaret, how do you call it, Seville Club. And every 4 or 5 strippers, I should say, every 4 or 5 strippers was named Khaleesi for a stretch of time because that effing show was so popular. And also, what was the name from that Frozen show?
Elsa.
That weirds me out. That's a children's movie.
A lot of strippers were Elsa and Khaleesi for a handful of months until the next trend came around. Okay, we got to keep cooking now on this list of illegal baby names in Australia. Marijuana.
Dumb. There was a story here about...
that is really dumb.
About a girl that was named Pepsi Marijuana. Do you remember? Maybe Marijuana Pepsi? I can't remember.
Come on. Here in the States.
Yeah. Let's see if I can find that
Come
story.
on.
Yeah, Marijuana Pepsi.
It's not a toy. It's a child that is going to need to live an adult life after you are dead.
Yeah. She's an Illinois lady.
Monkey. Can't name your child Monkey or Nazi or Nutella or Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, why? Why a million years?
Or Panties. You can't name... That's just my child. Oh, how adorable. What is her name? Her name is Panties.
Could be kangaroo panties over there in Australia quite easily. People are bringing up a good point. There's a lot of Mohammeds and Jesuses out there as far as religious names.
Oh, yeah.
I'll have to go along with it. Passport. Pope. Professor. Queen. Ranga. I don't know what that means. Now, here's where I think
This one deserves consideration.
We've hit a crossroads here. Josh said earlier, there's one name on this banned baby name list from Australia where you'd like to make an argument, and I'm right behind you, son. If you need any help on this argument, I'm there for you. for whatever reason, they have banned the name RoboCop from being placed permanently on the record or birth certificate of an innocent child.
Because you are not going to name your kid RoboCop.
I would like to name my child RoboCop.
Yeah, why would you name your kid after an American hero?
A lot of
makes
folks,
no sense to me either.
That is crazy.
I know folks that have named their babies after movie characters and then regretted the living hell out of it.
Oh,
I
yeah,
know
I'm
people.
judging.
I know people who have named their babies after influential people. Of course. RoboCop.
Maybe
Love
at least
that
a middle
dude.
name. Rambo. That's another one that should be under consideration for being okay.
Come with me or there will be trouble. You can't name your child Satan. You can't name your child Scrotum. Anybody want to fight that one?
Nope.
You can't name your child Semen.
God.
Jesus.
Well, that's how they start, but even so.
You can't name your child Head or Smelly or Snort or, this must be Australian, Socceroos. You can't name your baby Terrorist or Thong or Virgin.
Snot Rocket Cheeses wants to know, what about the name Judge Dredd? Wasn't one of his best films.
No, it really wasn't.
Never saw it.
You're better off having
You'd hate it. That is not a movie for you. This person regrets naming their child Bill Cosby.
Oh.
Tell me about it. I named mine Darren Sharper.
Oh, God.
Who at one time was one of my favorite Vikings. That has changed.
Now you know what not to name your baby if you ever start a family in stinking Australia.
I'm surprised you didn't know what Socceroos is, Dana.
Oh, it's the name of the soccer players, their national team.
Yeah. So I guess
where are
that
they
makes
from?
sense.
Where?
In Australia.
It's an Australian national. Okay, I thought maybe it was a rival country. And that's why they said
no. If you play for the Australian national team, you're a Socceroo.
And then it said that the Ranga, that's just another word for redheads. Like a red-headed animal situation. Huh? I never knew that.
Red-headed animal situation?
Yeah.
What are you talking
it
about?
It says it's red-haired person, or it comes from
a
the early 21st century from an orangutan because it has reddish hair.
Okay. So a red-haired person is a Ranga in Australia, where around here we call them, what do we call them?
Daywalkers.
Fire?
Ginger.
Fire crotch? That's what we used to do back in the, everyone was a fire crotch.
93X Half-Assed Morning Show. 93X.
Well, if it isn't our wonderful podcast listener, the ones that all of us on hams love the most. Dana here to give you a little gentle reminder to hit up our friends at Standard Heating and Air Conditioning and tune up that AC before it fully turns into crotch soup season. June through August are Standard's busy season for getting AC units up to snuff, so get ahead of the curve and have them ensure you don't have a summer where you pit out every shirt you own. Book in May during their pre-summer heat savings event, and you'll beat the rush and save yourself some walking around money. Call Standard Heating today or visit standardheating.com. Enjoy the show. We sincerely appreciate you checking us out each and every day.